Let's get ready to rumble. Ah.
It's a better intro than I feel like the lo-fi was. All right. So how are you? Episode 2. First off, I want to ask you how you think the first one went.
uh, I'm be honest. I didn't watch it again, um, because my first knee jerk reaction was like, I gotta watch my podcast from last night,
Right.
and then I got thinking, like, God, that's kind of conceited.
No, dude. I
So
haven't fully watched it either, but
I listened to a good bit of it on Spotify. I
mhm,
kind of listened to it, and I'm like, oh God, I can't be heard. And
yeah,
I kind of went
right.
through and I messaged you about it, and you were like, "Man, it goes back." Then I can't be heard and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then I think I sent someone the YouTube link also, and then it's just been mass inviting people to it. I'll be
Right.
honest, you've been doing a whole lot more than me. I feel like, man,
Well,
I really
hey, without the
got lucky.
listen though, without the content, it wouldn't there'd be nothing for me to do. So, at least we can at least we finally did it. It took so long. It seemed like it was like almost a year. It maybe was almost.
And then I tried to tonight. I said, well, we can do it tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, but it's just so everybody knows, and if anybody's listening right now, and Alex, we can kind of like agree to it verbally now. But Wednesdays is going to be the for good thing now. Is that kind of what we?
uh, I thought we said Thursday.
No.
We can do Wednesdays. We can do Wednesdays because
Okay.
that used to be my comic show time, but I'll move that to Fridays, so
Okay.
it's cool.
All right. Well,
Wednesdays.
sorry. Well,
Wednesdays.
hey, and go check out Alex's comic shows too. They'll be on Fridays now, apparently. Um, but okay, so Wednesdays. I'm thinking maybe still the same time. Is that kind of what you're thinking too? Like
Yeah, about
11?
11 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll just be
Wait.
doing this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Wednesdays. Wednesdays
Okay.
good. Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I got the new work
Ah!
schedule, so it's throwing me off.
All right, I feel you. So Wednesdays at 11. It's been Tuesdays this time and last time, but next time it's going to be Wednesday. I don't really think there's any other housekeeping other than that, honestly. And if you want to, we can just get into it if you'd like. If you're down.
Yeah.
So the last time we talked about Andy Bashir and the remarks that he made about trying to make healthcare and I think he said other things whenever he kind of presented it, but all that more available. Or if you want to take it from here, you can go ahead because I know you were like
Okay.
itching to.
So the day before our podcast last week, so this would have been last Monday. Okay. Andy Bashir came out and he said, and we covered this on the last podcast, so you can go and like actually watch us go through the report and stuff. This isn't just us talking.
No.
Um, he said that we basically that COVID um, attacked our African American communities in Kentucky at twice the rate. Um, so they make up 8% African Americans of Kentucky, and they were responsible for 16% of COVID-19. He said that's unacceptable. So we're going to put our dollars behind it. That was his words, and we're going to do something about it. And his plan is to the big headlines, of course, the clickbait headlines was Andrew Bashir promises health care to African Americans in Kentucky.
I'm trying to
And of
find the
course, what's the
article.
first thing in your head? It's like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
He's just going to give away
Who else?
health care? Like, how's
And,
that going to work?
and then the public response is who else? Like who else? They're
Yeah.
all just it's
Well,
a
I feel like you got two responses. You got everybody clapped,
right.
and everybody clapped, and then because it had me thinking like, why does that upset me? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is it the name of fairness? What is it? So I had to do some digging inside, and I think my thing was, it's just like I just don't feel like the path to equality is through bringing those that are down above others.
Right.
But anyway, so what his plan said, he's I've since looked through it, and we can pull it up if you want to pull it up if you can find something. But what
I
I
was trying
read
to look in the
was
history.
he's saying we're going to get to everybody. We're going to get to everybody, but we need to take care of those that. And I
I found it.
believe I don't remember. I believe he said that African Americans in Kentucky are less covered than anybody else. So he's going to start mass finding them, finding healthcare avenues for those, whether it's Medicaid, and I believe he said a substantial amount will qualify for Medicaid,
Um,
or private
I
employer.
got I
And
got the
so,
uh I got the thing. If you wanted to check in certain spots that he did say things, but you know we did also uh determine that that this interview phone interview wasn't really definitely wasn't really certainly about that. It kind of had other
right, there's
implications.
been, I saw something after that. It was like a couple days after our podcast where he basically, what he said was, we're going to,
Okay.
it's just, we're going to be signing people up for healthcare, whether it's through Medicaid or something like that. It wasn't, oh, can everybody gets free Medicaid now or anything like that.
Right.
He did not address what's going to happen to those who don't qualify for Medicaid or private employer or can't afford their employer's private insurance. I think that's the big question on everybody's mind.
Right. And that's
And
a
he said,
and that's an everybody thing, and it's not weird to wonder about that realistically. You know.
well, yeah, because he's basically making a promise that we're going to get all African Americans and eventually all Kentuckians. He did say that.
Right.
You know, we're just starting with the African Americans, which I can get behind that. If those are who have,
Right.
I have a few questions and I have a few points, but I can't really get mad about that. You know, we got to start somewhere. If you want to start there,
Right.
that's fine. That's
Right.
fine. My question is, what about those that fall through the cracks?
Mm-hmm.
Second, what are we going to be doing different that wasn't already being done?
Yeah,
Because
there does need to be something there, like you said, that could be even covered by falling through the cracks. Some sort of vetting, because the vetting process will have to be changed because obviously there's going to be a direct, focus on a certain race. So I'm sure within that, maybe I would like to, I would like to hear it from him, but I'm sure maybe within that there should be something. But that's
well,
speculation.
my question is, why are we doing so bad? Because I remember when Obamacare was first rolled out, like Kentucky was, that's what everyone else went by. Like we
Right.
actually excelled
Mm-hmm.
in our online services, getting people enrolled in the what was KY Next
Connect.
Connect.gov,
Yeah.
wasn't that? Or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like we were the golden standard, and so I'm having trouble figuring out why there's such a problem with people not being able to get insurance or not being able to not
Right.
being able to connect to
Did you?
Medicaid
Did you?
or
This.
through private.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's I just don't understand where the problem lies.
Right. Now,
Like, is it
listen, here's
not
something that
information?
I,
I don't know.
I don't know if it's the portal, like the online, that aspect of it, but I'll tell you now, a lot of people that are going to be needing that healthcare and stuff, they're not going to be very familiar with computers. That is
Yeah,
speculation, but I'm sure that it's honestly a little bit of the truth. Um, for instance, I read today that there was I read today that there was some sort of protest about unemployment benefits, unemployment insurance, maybe something at at in Frankfurt, and I think it was either today or yesterday. Um, but the headline was odd, and it kind of painted this picture, and it was true. But the people that ended up protesting actually ended up being invited in so they could get their cases personally handled. So
yeah.
so I'm
See,
wonder
I
I'm
have a
wondering if it's
good
a
friend who went through something similar. He'd signed up, and I mean, it's just mass people in. It's a really
oh my
shitty
god,
website. I don't know if you've ever
yes,
been on it.
yes.
It's really, and
All of those
you
government
look it up
websites
and you
are
get like three different websites, and like finding the website is difficult.
right.
Um, and then finding the actual portal is difficult, and then you have to, like, they didn't do anything for, like, hey, if it's due to COVID, what they, in my opinion, what they should have done is, if it's COVID-19, click here.
Right.
Because when you file for unemployment, it's like, what's the nature of why you don't have a job? And you're just like, COVID-19. Well, when did
Right.
it start? When COVID-19 started. When do you expect this to end? When COVID-19 ends. Like,
Right.
that's kind of, because I was filling out for my girlfriend, and then you go through the application process, and then it's like, okay, well, we'll let you know, and then you don't hear anything, and then like, they called us back because we tried to do it over the phone, and they called us every day for 2 weeks. They gave us an automated call basically saying, we haven't forgot about you, we're going to give you a call.
It's
And
kind of
then
weird.
when they finally did call, he was just like, yeah, you got to go to the online portal and do it. And I'm like, okay,
Man,
well, we filled that out, but we're not got anywhere.
those online portals, like I think that all of them, from when I had to do unemployment stuff, like uh, it was really rough. It was rough for me to understand, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty familiar with computers and technology in general, and it was
It's just a shitty site. Just
yeah.
it feels like it's slapped together, and then they were not prepared for COVID-19. They didn't try to revamp it or redo anything for COVID-19, other than putting little disclaimers at the bottom that was like, if it's
High
COVID-19, you
volume.
don't have to recertify every week,
Oh,
basically.
and I'm sure they were like, the basic. We're experiencing high volume, blah blah
Yeah,
blah. Now, I'm telling you, I know this. It is 110% more easy and convenient for people to be able to apply for any benefits online. That's just easier and more convenient. But the convenience comes with the ease of it, so it just needs to be easier, and
yeah.
that would help so many sectors, definitely including this one, and anything in the future, such as even the you
Well,
know
and it's just it's a broke. No one's really to blame. It's just no one was expecting it. It was
right.
just a broken little system, and then um, so many people are falling through the cracks. So like my buddy, like he called every day. He was online every day for like a month, and then finally he got his mom involved, who got an email address, found an email address, emailed this lady, and was like, what the hell's going on? This is what's going on."
Right.
And she was basically like, "Oh yeah, somehow he ended up falling through the cracks, and he was in the I don't know, wrong batch or some shit." And the next day, he got his unemployment benefits.
Wow.
Like Alana never did. My girlfriend never did get hers.
Still hasn't.
I'm gonna email this lady. Yeah, because she got approved for it, and then when the dude finally answered the phone or called us back, he was like, "Oh yeah, you have to go accept the funds." And it was like, "Okay, well, what about for the last 2 months when she
Right.
was unemployed?"
I
And he
think
was like, "Yeah, it takes a couple weeks to catch up. You know what I mean?"
I
So
think
he
that
just gave us the runaround.
I think you'll honestly get back pay, won't you?
Should, because he said he was supposed to get like a large sum of money.
Right.
So I'm gonna email this lady and try to figure it out. But luckily we're in the situation where um, when we got our tax money back, we were like, it was right when COVID-19 was starting to happen. We were like, let's take a break and just sit on this.
Right.
Just might need this,
Yeah.
and that's what we did. And we just kind of used it as need be,
Right.
because she took a leave of absence. I continued to work. I've been essential, because the rehabs are kind of qualified under long term rehabs are under the same as like a old folks home.
Right. That's what I
Um,
was gonna
yeah,
suggest.
so we're essential. So I've been blessed at that, and we've been really blessed that we didn't really need the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna try
That's
to get it
that's the
if
same
we can
same
use it.
same thing with us really too. I didn't really even get a stimulus check either. But
I didn't get one because I still haven't filed taxes since 2018. I'm in
uh
the process of doing that.
right, yeah. Gotta say that. So
Matter of
FBI,
fact,
come
I got
on.
a little nest egg that I'm saving just to pay my taxes.
Yeah.
So what do we got? What are we looking at here?
Well, this is stuff for later. If it's you kind of see what it is though.
Oh no, it looks like scribbles to me.
Um,
Oh, yeah, okay, I can see it on my computer, but not on my actual.
right.
Um, so I'm gonna try to look up real quick Andy Bashir.
I did find that telephone interview, but I couldn't. I know that I've read something more about that too, but I couldn't find anything.
All right, so I'm typing in Andy Bashir update healthcare for Black families. So this is from 6/9/2020. That's probably that's the NPR interview.
Yeah, that I reread that earlier. Um, it's kind of a rough thing.
I need to be better about.
Well, they kind of just smacked at. I don't know. They kind of smacked at him. I don't know. Like flipped the whole.
Okay, so this is from. Oh God, it's Fox News.
Yikes!
That's fine. This is 6 days ago from Fox News. Kentucky governor wants to ensure health care. 20,000 of Kentucky's African American residents are. Um, okay, Kentucky Governor Andy Bashir said he would pursue 100%. They keep putting that 100% in quotations. And I feel like, especially this being Fox News and him being a Democratic governor, they're doing that. So whenever
Right.
they find the one person who didn't get insured. You'd be like,
It'd be like,
what happened to that
we
100%?
fly him out here right now.
Yeah.
We got a
Healthcare coverage for
full
black
interview.
residents earlier this week as the state reports a disproportionately high number of coronavirus cases in the black community. And this is just the first commitment in making up the inequality that Dr. King said was one of the most severe inequality in healthcare. Bashir, a Democrat, of course they had to throw that in there, said at a press conference Monday, "We're going to be putting dollars behind it." He said that multiple times. "We're going to have a multifaceted campaign to do it. It is time, especially during COVID 19. African Americans make up 8% of Kentucky's population, but roughly 19% of coronavirus cases." Okay, so 19. I've seen 16, now I'm seeing 19. According to the Foundation for Healthy Kentucky, the state had more than 11,000 coronavirus cases as of Tuesday afternoon.
Jeez. And that's been something been paying attention to the coronavirus thing. I don't
Okay,
know, man.
I'll go ahead.
No, there's nothing more. It's just
Okay, so it says our goal, and it's a short term goal, is to make sure that we reach out to every single one of the individuals and get them signed up for some sort of coverage, Brashear clarified on Tuesday. Many of them qualify for Medicaid or expanded Medicaid. There's also the private market and other means. So I don't know what other means there are other than the private market and Medicaid.
right.
That's is there. What else is there after that? I don't know. That doesn't mean that we're going to stop there, he said. Roughly 20,000 of Kentucky's African Americans says that again. I had to put that in there twice, I guess. But that's it. And he said he's not going to stop there. Um, but what I read before was he was saying we're not just stopping with black Americans, we're going to get everybody.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know that he's been pressured to say that, especially by the immediate response, and then the barking almost. 'Cause it's kind of rough. Just
But I mean,
just seeing how it played out, I guess, on this end of it.
my thoughts on it are, if we want to spend some extra tax dollars on helping people who, for some reason, and I don't mean this any negative way, for some reason are unaware of how to get health insurance or
Yeah.
where to get health insurance, fine. Because we already, every Kentuckian has the ability to right now to do the things they're going to help them do. It's just they're going to go, I guess, door to door or whatever, so to speak,
Yeah, I
and be
wonder.
like, hey, do you know you can get health insurance?
There should be
Here's how to get it.
that should be a thing anyways, not door to door, but like I don't know, just a better representation of that. Like man, I don't see why like with cases of in with cases like this of things that are pretty socially important because that disproportionate number that's not good. That like kind of bends and twists a lot of facets of like society to have like a whole sector of people that are disproportionately lacking in something that maybe the others have.
Well, and I really and all you can do is it's all conjecture, but it makes you wonder why.
Right.
Because is it a lack of information getting out? Is it a lack of the information on how to? Because
Is it a
I'm
lack
pretty
of
sure at
like
this point everyone knows that in 2008 everyone had to have health insurance.
right?
Like it became law. It's
Hmm.
since been repealed. Um, parts of it, like there's no penalty anymore. I don't believe.
No.
But you have to have health insurance. You need to sign. I mean, it was on the radio, it was on the internet, it was on the news, it was on newspapers. Like you pretty much had to be living under a rock to not
And
know that
see,
you
look,
need to sign up for some sort of health insurance.
and that had to have helped people sign up. It had to. I mean,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
obviously. Now everybody has a phone in their hand. Everybody has way more attention to Facebook right now than they did in 2008 and the years prior, and after now. So like
Well,
for
I'm
for
willing to bet there's a large percentage of people who just assume I'm not going to qualify for Medicaid
right, that's what I'm
and I
saying.
can't
That's what I
afford
was gonna
health
say.
care.
Like trust almost in the system. Like
Yeah.
honestly, everybody's got Facebook. I get told to register to vote. I don't see why that couldn't even just be like a I don't know. Things would get iffy with like who to promote, like what type of coverage or what provider to go with to promote or something like that. but I feel like they could do something with Facebook or something if they really wanted to.
And well, I mean, and here's my take on health insurance. Um, I feel like I have certain responsibilities these days. I have civic responsibilities to vote and to try to stay as informed as possible on current events and politics. And I owe it to my family and everyone else around me to ensure that I'm covered. Just like automobile
Yeah.
insurance, we can all reasonably say that, hey, it's not right to be driving without automobile insurance because what if I wreck into someone else and I don't have any insurance? They're just SOL to a degree.
Right.
Um, Same deal with health insurance. You know what I mean? And now, do we need to fix it? Are there problems with it? Absolutely. But I can see how it's my duty as a responsible adult these days to have health insurance, and I do. I did I always before? No. Was I on Medicaid for a good long time before I got my shit together as a human being? Absolutely. Thank God for it. Do I see problems with that today? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But I pay way too much for health insurance that's completely lacking, but I have it. You know what I mean?
I wonder if
I pay, and
I wonder how much of a like an enzyme that is for people to not want to sign up, like that it's expensive or and
well, and you know what? I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet because I don't make a great deal of money, but I make a decent bit above minimum wage. If I had to pay the amount of money I pay now for health insurance and I made minimum wage, there'd be no way I could afford it.
yeah.
No way. I pay almost. This includes dental and eye, which together is like maybe $15 a month for the two. Um, I pay probably about $180 a month for all my insurances.
Yeah,
That's dental, eye,
and with a lot of
and health.
people living paycheck to paycheck, I can see that being like something weird to stomach. I guess for certain
Yeah.
people.
Well, I mean, and the thing, well, I have two takes on that. I have two takes on that. One, I'm not sure. This is the only employee-based health insurance I've ever had, so I'm not sure what other employee-based health insurances look like. But I know one thing is a lot of us, and this is just anecdotal. You know, I feel like a great deal of us have our priorities misaligned. So
Yeah.
like we think, oh, I can't afford $180 health insurance, but instead of having a $55 phone plan, I need a $120
Right,
phone
and
plan.
there really is no excuse for people that are like that because smartphones are pretty cheap now.
Yeah,
You can get them for pretty cheap.
I'm willing if you pay $60 a month for various streaming services, but say that you can't afford health insurance. I'm sorry, I'm a little less sympathetic to you.
Yeah,
That's my take on
I don't even know
it.
how you could kind of mold that into being something that works either. You can't really tell people what to do with their money. That's when you get everybody big mad.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know. It's like I've felt this way for a long time though. Like one thing our generation needs badly, and this goes down to education because it's not something they teach you in school, and is money management. You know, good money. They don't even teach you how to balance a checkbook in high school anymore. And you can get into argument: is that something you should learn at the house, or is that something you should learn at school? Doesn't matter. It needs to be taught somewhere.
Yeah. And I'll tell you now, there's a very disproportionate amount of people that don't get taught anything like that at home. So, um, I don't know. I feel like I feel like it's almost a civic responsibility almost to have that taught. I mean,
Yeah. And
all
these
it's gonna
aren't
do is
blanket.
make things better for everybody.
Yeah. And
So
these aren't blanket things that's going to apply to everyone. Obviously, there's going to be people whose living situations just don't fit that.
right,
Um, I think we need to get like one thing's for sure is you're not entitled to live alone in a one bedroom apartment or whatever.
right,
You know, find you a roommate. I understand that's easier said than done. Um, I've always had a room. I've never had my own place that was just mine. Since I've lived alone, I've either lived with a family member, which that's a blessing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Not everybody has that, and paid bills there, or I had some friends that I lived with and went on a house, and it makes things much more manageable. You
right,
know what I mean?
and allows you to be able to plan. And And man, a few things that you've said tonight have me coming back to this word. I swear it's not because it's something that I want to speak with you about, but accountability. I'm going to tell you now, the whole thing revolves around that money management, everything. Like,
Yeah,
if I'm not saying that you should be held accountable if you can't, um, like I don't know if you can't like afford it, but you should be held accountable if your priorities are messed up and that's why you can't afford it. I don't know how you could be held accountable other than not having health care.
yeah. Well,
Then it comes
and
down to
the
whether
big thing
thinking
is,
whether or not that's a bad thing. I guess.
and that's I feel like a big part of our generation, and just this, and maybe this is just my conservative biases because I do a little bit more right, and conservatives are a lot more about personal responsibility. Before I start looking outward at what's wrong with society and saying, okay, well, society is the reason that I can't make it or I can't afford this or that, I need to take a good hard look at myself and be honest and be like, okay, where do I need to cut
Like
corners?
audit yourself.
Yeah, like to be a real, like, how much am I spending eating out every month?
Oh
How
God.
much am I spending on streaming services? How much is my phone plan? How ridiculous is that? Do I have to have the new iPhone 11? You know what I mean?
Michelle Adams
How much is my car payment?
on
Why didn't I buy a $1,500 car to get me from A to B?
on Facebook, Michelle Adams said something I've heard a lot is people don't go to the doctor rarely ever, so they say they don't need health coverage, and that's something good to bring into this too. I wonder how many of those people just have completely opted out or tried of those of that percentage of African American Kentuckians that aren't covered.
Well, it's just, I mean, I feel like that's the same. I feel like that's a great deal of it. There's people who,
Right.
I know people who could afford it, uh,
Me
but choose
too.
not to.
Right. Me too.
I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not judging anybody, right? This is my personal accountability. Is the way it was broken down to me, and I mean, my sponsor is an insurance agent, so,
Yeah.
um, but so like I have insurance. You have insurance, hoping that you're never going to use it.
Right.
You know, so the idea is that like just because you have insurance, it's going to save you money that year. You're looking at it wrong. I have insurance, be like, yeah, I've got a $5,000 deductible. Am I going to hit $5,000 in healthcare expenses in a year? Absolutely not.
Right.
But if I break a leg or something horrible happens to me or I have to be flown for this or that and like something unthinkable happens, like I have insurance for that. That's why I have
Right.
insurance. Now, if I can afford more and I can go, okay, well, where's it going to cost me? Maybe I get $2,500 deductible because I got this and that going on. Whatever. I got the cheapest I can get in the hopes that I don't have to use it.
Right. I mean that's every insurance. That's what
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if we looked up the definition, that's kind of what it would allude to.
It's a big coffee can that you hope you never have to reach your hand in.
Right.
But I feel like people's views on it are skewed. It's like, why do I have insurance if I'm not spending that money? That's it's just not how it works. I
And
mean,
and a lack of point of view may attribute to that too. But that I mean, it's definitely not an excuse, but it probably has something to do with why. I don't know. Like a lot of people think maybe that there's nothing that's going to happen to them, or I don't know.
well, I feel like the big argument I hear is the first thing is, well, all the insurance companies are crooked. Okay, well, just because I can poke a flaw in something doesn't mean that I don't need to be a part of it. Like,
Right.
I still need to pay insurance while I'm vocally saying that, hey, the stuff's crazy. We need to take a look at this.
Yeah.
But I still need to be a part of it. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just my personal views on it.
Yeah.
Health insurance, no one's ever figured that out.
No. God
I
no.
feel like we're doing better than we used
Like
to.
like even on the top and the surface level of it, us as a country are like so torn on it too. Like even it's a thing that we don't all have the same definition for, and something we really should. Like there's no reason that we should be. There's no reason that healthcare should be a part of the dichotomy of the bipartisan bullcrap that we deal with, on Fox News, because it is. It's a point, and it's a big
Well,
thing.
I mean, it's a big point, and this is what I've found in my watching videos and doing research. So take what you want of it. So the big argument I see from the left is, we'll look at all these other countries, all the other, first world countries out there have got some sort of single payer system, or they just pretty much got it figured out, and we
Right.
don't. And and the right side of the argument is, well, they're able to have that because we're the ones who put all the money into research and development.
Right.
And whenever they need something major
That's
done, they
weird.
come to America. We breed the good doctors and that kind of thing. And so I see both points of view, but um, and you're not going to like this, but usually his facts are pretty good whenever he comes with real numbers. I heard Crowder bring up just how much money Americans and American companies spend on research and development in the healthcare field
Right.
is astronomical, astronomical. And plus, all these other countries don't have the same generic laws we do. They don't have the same patent laws that we do. So while us Americans are stuck with paying Pfizer whatever amount of money for whatever pill because they have a 3 year patent on it before they can make a generic, meanwhile you fly overseas and they already have a generic of it right then.
Right. Yeah, and
So
I've heard
is there a
about
problem?
that being a thing a lot too.
So I'm on both, and I see both sides there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. And listen, it's not because of the Crowder thing, but I don't know. Whenever I think of healthcare, it's not like I think that that should be a socialized thing. Like, we should get it for free and everybody. But I do think everybody. Research and like if I do not know the factual things on this, so I'm not going to try to get deep with it. But if Jonas Salk didn't divulge that, I mean, how I wonder how that worked. I wonder how his patent worked. I wonder how like I don't care how much time and research that he spent on that, and he probably doesn't either. I've seen very many things say that he didn't mean for that to be something sold. Yeah, that he researched
What are
and
you talking about?
polio
Insulin
vaccine,
or
right?
polio?
Right. That he didn't want something like that, and maybe I even just got the wrong person. I don't even know.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like that's where it's a case by case instance because you have like you said the polio vaccine where it was made and meant to be just distributed widely, where these evil ass insurance companies are like getting every bit they can out of it, and then you have these giant like insulin. There's no reason for insulin to cost what it
No.
costs. It doesn't cost any more to produce than it ever did. Why does it cost so much? So I mean, yeah, these insurance companies absolutely need in check, um, but I don't feel like anyone has the complete right answer.
Right. That's the best way to put that because
But I tell you what,
it's
of
such a
all the
tiered.
left leaning talking points, um, I've talked to some people and I've looked at some of the data of single payer systems, and I'm like, man, that could work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That could work,
Right.
or at least borrowing some ideas from it. I'm open to it. You know what I mean?
It's gonna. That's what it's gonna happen. It's gonna have to happen. It's not just like, oh, we're going with this side. It's gonna be a pick and choose, and it's gonna be a very important pick and choose. I think the next Democratic president we get in will probably get like dig his heels in and start on it. I think he'll. I think they'll try to do something with it, depending on the
I feel like
person.
that's what's next. I
You
feel
know.
like if we ever get this police shit figured out, that's what's next.
Yeah. Hopefully, Jesus. It's a thing that's needed to be figured out for a long time that a lot of people are not benefiting from that should be as almost a like a right. It's not really that great of a thing, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm blessed where I haven't really had to deal with any of the really negative sides of it yet. I mean, I
Right.
can bitch about how much I pay for insurance, but then there's always those that fall through the cracks. And then you hear the horror stories
They're awful.
from people overseas on those single payer systems who get put on these giant waiting lists,
Yep. And even people
and
like
then you hear people on the other side of the coin who's like, "No, that's not real. That's not how it is."
it's very
So
it's
I'm
very
feeling like, all right, so one of y'all are lying, or is it probably like a little bit of both?
right. I'd say it really is a
Like
little bit of
probably
both.
some people fall through the cracks more than
Like I'm sure
others.
I'm sure with asking them about that, you could just ask them their political affiliation, and you could determine, this is some
Yeah.
fluffy bullshit that you're telling me. I'm sure there's a little less to
Well,
it
if
than that.
you get 100 people in a room together who've all went through the healthcare industry and be like, "Hey, how many of y'all had a bad experience?" You're gonna get a few,
Yeah.
right? How many of y'all had a really good experience? You're gonna get a few.
Right. I don't know.
and then you highlight those depending on what kind of point you're trying to
I'm
prove.
just I'm actually like ready to see, and I wonder when we'll see something about this. I feel like maybe the maybe Andy Bashir will probably wait, and this is speculation. Wait for like the racial things to go down a little bit. It's odd to me that he would say something like that, and not because I don't think that that a certain sector of society may need some support right now. Um, it's just odd. It's an odd thing to say that really vilified something, and I think that he created a little bit of division when he said that, just in the reaction. But I wonder when we'll actually know what it's going to be made of, what those steps are
Well,
going to be
I feel
comprised
like
of.
probably his this I can see his line of thinking being something like, okay, um, we've got these protests going on all around the country. Um, I'm not saying he's pandering 100%. What can I do to appease to a level, to
Right.
a certain extent? Let these people know I hear them, but also not go against anything that I campaigned on. Because he campaigned on health insurance. He campaigned on uh, healthcare reform and getting everybody healthcare and
Dude,
stuff. So
I'm
it's
and
like, you know
I'm
what? This
sure
is something I said I'm going to do from the beginning.
I'm sure
I'm going
by
to put just a
now
little bit of twist on it.
I'm sure by now we would have seen something out of that too, you know. But dude, every single new incumbent governor or anybody in a seat right now is probably like, "What the fuck is this year?" They are probably in
Yeah.
shock.
Oh,
They've
yeah,
not been
yeah.
able to do
Anybody for sure.
anything. Like,
Yeah, and he's quick to say, uh, you know, I've been dealing with COVID since I became governor.
yeah, like
Like he's quick to point that out.
yes, that's funny. I probably would too, though, because I bet some people just think that he just sits in a chair all day and just I don't know, just sits there and waits for
But
things to happen or something. I don't
uh,
even know.
back to accountability. So when you said accountability,
Okay, listen. If we're gonna go there, then I got a little bit of an intro. Okay.
lay it on me, brother.
All
Lay it
right.
on me.
Okay. And Devin Bless said something about accountability in Facebook chat. I see you if you're still here. I will touch on what you said because I think it's important. Um, okay. To be frank, there's a lot of things in my life that I've come to look at recently and I've come to think about recently. This goes on so many different levels. It's politics. It's personal things. It's this that. It's everything. I look at one side and I think about accountability, politics, and I think, wow, that's very important. I look at my personal life, accountability, wow, that's really important. And it's not only just important because I think that if you're going to do something or if you're going to say something, then there needs to be meaning behind it. Um, but it also, when we do it to ourselves, we keep ourselves in check, and then when we do it to others, we keep others in check. Um, Accountability is a thing that I think that a lot of people just lack. I mean, that's kind of just straightforward and kind of common sense. If you've met 10 people, I don't know how many of them would not be a person that holds themselves or other people accountable, but just a lot of them probably aren't actually following guidelines that keep themselves held accountable and kind of do it to others. Can't really do it to others without being too crazy. Um, so basically, I think that a lot of the things that are going on today, because I kind of wanted to not touch on Black Lives Matter, the protests, all that stuff, until I kind of got a little bit more stomached and kind of got to think on it and stuff. So that's why I didn't say anything last time. Um, but man, I really think, and I'm not wanting to go like a lefty or righty and crap on a certain sector of society like police or, African American people or looters or protesters or anything. But I think, though, that we have an issue with accountability in police. Um, and
Absolutely.
and even further than that, accountability with authority positions, because it goes way beyond police. When I think about accountability and I think about the police, it trickles but upward. It's like the police chief, or okay, so the police say a police officer does something bad, and we've seen a very very good display of it, and it's kind of just laid out in layman's terms for it and happening in real time. You'll see a police officer do something. The chief of police will either get involved somehow. They'll either get fired, or they'll leave their post, or they'll speak up and in support. Then next, above that, we go to the mayor. Now, these are metropolitan areas, so this is kind of how city government works, I guess, more so, when it starts coming from police. But then you've got the mayor above the police chief, and then it seems like it goes above that, but I haven't seen many instances of it going above that. I've been looking at a lot of numbers, and I've been looking at a lot of data with accountability. I did contact, and I didn't want to get into this too much, but I do want to say it because it's very, very important to me. I did get in contact with my mayor. There are some plans and some things that I have that I want to do with my life. I would hope within the next year. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Don't really want to say anything about that, but what I want to ask and I want to see, and I've asked a lot of people what they think, is a way to begin, because it isn't there. It just isn't. But a way to begin some sort of way for people that are in authoritative positions to feel like you either need to hold yourself accountable or the people will. Like, I don't think that there's a clear enough... I don't think there's a clear enough dialogue between those tiers. So, like, you go trickle up. There's civilian, police chief, mayor, and then you could go on beyond that if you'd like. And this is what this podcast is centered on. It's just open dialogue. But I swear, if I was president at this very second, the way that I would begin, first off, you would have to understand that there is an accountability issue. You have to. If you don't see that, then you're not looking at the right numbers, and that's just that. You can be pro-cop, you can be anti-cop, you can be anti-turtles. It doesn't matter. If you look at the numbers, there is a problem with accountability. You don't even have to look at racial disparity or, disproportionate like action being taken on police or anything like that. There's just an accountability problem. It's obvious. If I was president at this very second, I would tell everybody to open. I would tell every single town or district or whatever you want to call it with a police department of some kind to flag off a public space and open dialogue. I don't know how. That's so vague, and it's not really like, I don't really, maybe somebody should just put a tent down and say, I don't know what the sign would say or whatever. I'm just trying to really put it into a physical means, but just open.
Well, that's one of the NAACP. That was one of the things that they laid out as far as like their, I hate to say list of demands, was like a civilian body to hold police accountable. I forget the words they use, but it's like basically these boards of like review boards, civilian review boards almost. And I was like, man, I can get behind that 100%.
Yeah, I don't know how those people would be chosen, but they definitely don't just need to be, volunteers or something like that. If that's, I haven't even thought about that, to be honest, because I think that it probably there needs to be some sort of board. I'm not even so sure. I just don't know how you could get a civilian on a board like that. That's not anti-cop. I just don't.
And when you look at metropolitan police departments and rural police departments, the problems are going to be a lot different.
Yes.
All right. There's never going to be a blanket solution to every city,
Right.
Or every county, or however you want, every township. But I believe first and foremost, my opinion, the biggest problem is a lack of training.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen the memes where it's like,
well, man, listen. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but this is something I've thought a lot about, and I want to touch on what you just said, the training thing. Even like, dude, I started to say this and I stopped. If I was president right now, that's what I would do. I would tell police stations to open their doors. I would also say, and this is not me taking a position on the police, so I'm going to try to be a little bit suppressed on this and try to make it very accurate as to what I feel. But if a police officer does not, because I know that there are police officers that exist that will not be open to like not dialogue, but will not be open to maybe listening to people. And I know that sounds so stupid because that's what they sign up for, but buddy, that's what the problem is. We've got
I've met something like that, man.
we've
Just
got
give them all a bad name.
right. We've got cops. We've got cops that exist beside, that stand beside good cops, that do the things that I'm talking about. Cops need to do. That just won't do it, and those people are just non-personable. They don't need to be in the streets. There's you can like we can do so much training. You can run this far and shoot a gun this much and tase this and get pepper sprayed in the face, but I just think that if you're not, that's the test. Put them in the community. And we're not talking about having patrol the streets. We're talking about not strip them of guns or anything like that, but get them out and see who communicates and see who interacts with the community best. And if they can't, man, either put them in an office or send them down the road or something because they just can't do
Well,
that job.
there's multiple levels to the issues because it's like once you try to fix one issue, you run into another. So when you say more training, that means what? A more a higher trained position equals what? More pay, right?
Right.
And let's be honest, cops don't make a whole lot of money
No.
as it is. And at the same time, how can we ask for more training and more qualified officers and at the same time scream defund the police? And I know when they say defund they don't mean 100% give like take all the but when you do look at the amount of money spent on policing, it's outrageous
Yeah.
compared to the rest of the social programs. So how can we take money from that and get better quality officers? That just don't make sense.
Right.
But my fix is, I mean, what when you look at police officers, the amount of police officers in this country, and problems with police officers, is you look at the war on drugs. That's the police state. That's the private prison population. I mean, you go to a prison, and this is just, these aren't real numbers or anything like that, but like a large percentage of but me having been to jail, and I'm always open about this, a large percentage of people in your county jails, your metropolitan city jails, are, if not directly a drug charge, it is drug related. So that's where you get like people, and Kentucky's actually pretty good about offering rehab first as opposed to more jail time, because actually in the long run it actually saves us dollars. But so someone will get caught shoplifting, no drugs on them, and they'll offer them rehab. Like you got a drug problem, because that's drug related crime,
Right.
petty crime, shoplifting, burglary, armed robbery. All I don't know, armed robbery is not particularly low level, but these are all domestic violence even.
Right.
Like most of these crimes are drug related crimes. Okay. So that's where I do look at other countries and I see, you know, obviously the war on drugs doesn't do anything but cost more money every year. It costs more lives every year, whether lost or um, incarcerated. And you look at other countries who have decriminalized drugs, and it worked out for them.
Right.
You know, because it's worked out for them. It takes the stigma off it. Now police officers can do what police officers ought to be doing, protecting and serving, and not just trying to find people
Okay. So
to bust.
so you're saying that you think that a majority of the time spent policing is mostly drug related things.
Absolutely.
And that you think that makes please tell me you don't think that is the like that takes them all away from being able to be out in their communities, because that's
I feel like it affects the psyche of what a police officer's job is because it
okay.
becomes a let's catch these people.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Right. I guess
And
so.
then you hear about, we've all heard about, and I don't know the validity of this, the quotas on traffic. Like supposedly, it's a rumor. I don't know how true it is, but every officer or every county has a quota on how many traffic citations they need to pass out in a year or in a month or something like that.
Right.
Have you ever heard that?
I'm sure that it kind of and you'll probably agree with me on this. This is speculation. I have heard a little bit of this. I know it's not a per person quota, but what I think it more so is it's if they don't meet a certain like a certain number that maybe they did the year before or something, funding is less. I think it's kind of got something more to do with that, which is pretty much what you're saying. But I don't think there's like a personal quota. You know, maybe some police departments chop it down so fine that they're like, all right, man, you got to get 6 today, or like, you know, we gotta get 6. You know, 6 certain violations that are this severe, you know. And if that's the case, guess what? They should be held accountable, because that's garbage. That's garbage. Absolute garbage.
I just, for one, I'm gonna say this: if you're an ACOB person, which if you don't know what that is, that's all cops are bad or all cops are bastards. Like, you're just as bad.
Yes.
Like, if you're an
That's
ACOB,
garbage.
oh God, I can't stand an
That's
ACOB.
such a stupid.
They got the whole.
It's
Once
a
you've gotten 1 bad and 99 good, and 9 don't turn into 1 bad.
right.
You got
No.
100 bad. Like, it's just not that black and white.
No, man. There are so many stories of cops that have fallen victim to the system just by trying to point out, you know, issues within the system. Just
Yeah.
I read something the other day, and I can't remember the guy's name. I think he was even an African American cop, but he was an LAPD officer, and he did see some wrongdoings going on, and he tried to report it, and I mean, he just got screwed.
Serpico.
Dude, it's awful. It's the most awful thing I've ever heard. Could you imagine being like that? Can you imagine being that person that tries to?
Well, my mom was a dispatcher for Lancaster Police Department for a number of years. And so when I was a kid, I knew personally a lot of the officers in Lancaster. I have seen who are now high ranking officers drunk in their cruisers. I have seen, heard tale of, you know, cops sleeping in their car, stuff like that. And I heard tale of one particular cop who was like by the book, right? Even went as far as to cite his wife for speeding, right? And that's what I like to hear, man. You know what I mean?
That's accountability in the purest form.
So saw some problems in the city. Like I said, I'm not going to drop any names. Basically, kind of like got shuffled around. Like, get out of here. You're a problem. Get out of here. You know what I mean?
I mean, and look, I know that you're speaking on a local place, and I know that that's, you know, maybe I do have friends that are involved with that department. I don't know if they're involved in that, but if whoever's involved in that is garbage.
Years ago. This was years ago.
Well, regardless, I know people that have been there quite a bit, and they're probably still there. If anyone involved in something like that, you need to go to jail. Like, you need to be.
Yeah, and like you're saying, it's not contained in the police department. It's you get into city council members.
Yes,
you get into
God.
the mayor's office. You know what I mean?
It's such a deeply embedded thing.
Department,
right.
And people go put on a badge and they're just jackasses. Nah, because I'm telling you, the police department, all city workers, like, and Lancaster's notorious. I don't even give a shit to say. My dad worked for the city of Lancaster for years. And, like, the mayor would have the water department, sewage department going and doing private things for him and his family and stuff like this. Like, just not the current mayor. I can't speak on the current mayor. But I don't even care to say his name. Mayor Moss was horrible. Fucking horrible, mayor. Corrupt as I'll get out, man.
I know of a magistrate in a certain area, and I'm not going to say where, because this is a currently ongoing thing, and I think something may end up happening about it. Doing the same thing. He's appointing. He's been asking fire departments to come and, I'm really trying to be careful, to come and fill up like things, like He's been abusing. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's one of the things. Like, it's been like, it's so, that is corruption. I don't care what you think. That's corruption. That is abuse of authority. 100%.
The current New York police chief or mayor, right, has the daughter who got arrested for smoking weed or something.
Yeah.
Apparently had police officers helping her move.
Right. Yeah.
Wait, I saw that headline. That kind of shit. You know
no,
what I mean?
Man. And look, you know what? Okay, cool. You're gonna have them help your daughter move. Then you better be ready to do that once a week. You better be ready, or you need to be, you need to be jerked out of your seat and not by someone above you, by the people. Literally. Like, I'm not saying go and physically harm someone, but I'm saying, like, we got, like, that's.
I've had plenty of encounters with police where, I broke down on the side of the road uh, several times, and them come up, and they're always got to be hyper aware of what's going on,
Yes, yeah.
or what's going on. But plenty of, hey, how can I be of service? How can I
Right.
help you?
Yes, and
You know
that
what I mean?
is, and another thing with this accountability thing, those people are at least holding themselves accountable in that moment. I can't speak for outside of it. Maybe if you know a police officer personally, I'm not saying, because I've heard a lot of people argue like, man, they're just doing a civic duty. We literally like pay for them, pay for their bills, blah blah, whatever. Like they're not any more special than me. Well, yeah, they are, because they're an authority figure for one. I'm not saying that you have to bow to them. They are also people, but that's what you need to do. You need to have a
Yeah.
talk with these people, because him doing that's not him being a police officer. I
Well,
could
and I feel like
I can almost guarantee
my
that if he was in his
way,
car or something, he'd probably stop for you also, or has before. So,
a large percentage of our generation was taught, you know, police officers are good people, respect cops, and all
right.
this. And somewhere along the line, we grow fearful of them because we have encounters, we hear of encounters.
And it's not
There's always that.
unjustified. It's okay. It's okay to be scared of them, because listen, when
But then what do we pass down to our kids? You know what I mean? Because if we were taught cops are good people or all this, and we fear them now, what the hell is going to happen with our kids when we're
right.
screaming all cops are bad?
Right. I think that it's like this. I did contact the mayor of the city that I live in, and I think that whether or not I have the answers to helping solve this problem, there's not a racial disparity in Somerset. There's not even a disproportionate number of police brutality on a certain race, or almost probably anybody, if I had to guess here. But there's no reason, and I'm not saying that anyone in this town has done anything bad, because the police here have been absolutely nothing but helpful to me. So it's not like we need to hold our I need like we need to hold my police accountable. I'm doing it right now because they don't do shit. That's not the case.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I feel like that's what we see a lot of is I got to get me one. You know what I
right?
mean?
Yes. No.
That's where you see the
Garbage.
guys who get pulled over and automatically they're like, I don't answer questions.
Right. Stupid,
You know what I mean?
man.
Like, there's no need in that shit, man.
One
That
hundred
means you're just
percent.
signifying.
We both, and I'm speaking for you because I know you agree with it. Get that phone out if you don't feel safe, because that is the only link to you knowing that you're going to be able to hold somebody accountable for something.
Well, yeah, and there's no reason. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with recording
Right. But
your
not off the
confrontation.
bat and being
With
divisive.
a police officer, but there's no reason you can't give mutual respect from the jump.
Right,
You know what I mean?
man. Just because, listen, it's another thing about the bad apple thing. Just because you've had one dealing with one that's awful doesn't. But I'm gonna tell you now, man. Uh, if I were a certain sector of society, and I'm not even really saying African Americans, but I would be scared. I'm not. I don't know. That I've had a lot of time to sit and think about that. I am respectful whenever I'm involved with a police officer, because I know that they do not know me, and I know that uh, that for all they know, I could just pull a gun out. I don't know that, like, they have to know that, because that's what people do. Like, people sometimes just do that shit. So I understand the wariness, but I also like. I don't know. Like, I need to be treated
Well, and
like
I
a
feel
person
like
too, or it's
it's
not going to
both
work out.
things. So, you hear white privilege, and I used to hate that term.
Me
I'm
too.
still not big on it, but when I first heard it, I was like, you don't like. I had to struggle growing up. I grew up poor, blah blah.
Right.
Tell me about privilege, blah blah. And then now everybody's like, well, white privilege is you don't have to worry about an encounter with police dying.
Right.
I'm like, that's pretty fair. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
That's pretty fair. I'll give it that. But let's keep it at that. That's my thing. Like,
right.
and then you hear, I'm going to use my privilege to get my voice heard.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Are you saying that people listen to you more than they listen to
Right.
white people? 'Cause,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
To
Because
me,
that's
white
not.
privilege. When you say it means I don't have to worry about getting shot by police on a regular basis, I'm with you, baby.
Right.
I'm there on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because that is,
Uh,
and you're somebody that can
but
look at facts, and that's just factually true in metropolitan areas. It just happens.
you
It's
don't
just
see. I don't. There are racist fucks out there. It's just there are racist pieces of shit out there. Probably a lot of them have put on a badge.
yep.
Does that mean all of them have? No. Does it mean the majority of them have? Probably not.
Because man, I'm gonna tell you
Um,
what. If
but
there's
that's still not. And then you look into just socioeconomic statuses. You do have a lot of gang violence. A lot of gang violence in metropolitan areas. Just
that
the way it is.
man, that's the
African American.
yeah.
So you have all these things factored in each other. You have racists. You have the fact of a cop's walking up, he sees a black man in the car, he knows just by the numbers more likely to shoot at me than someone who's white. Does that make
Right.
it right or wrong? No, but it's the
Right,
facts.
right. It is
Okay.
100%. No
So
denying it at all.
does that make him a bad cop? Not makes him someone who looks at the numbers. You know what I mean?
Right. We have a little bit of an issue. I have to go to the bathroom really bad, and usually I'm good at like doing this and not, and not like being like, "Hey man, we got to interrupt a really serious thing for me to go to the bathroom."
Dude, I got a coffee here, and a San Pellegrino, and a water,
I drink.
and I don't have to pee.
I drink this. I drank this like an hour ago. So, do you want me to like put on Jeopardy music while I go to the bathroom, or?
Yeah, that'll work. Intermission.
Okay. I wish I had like an intermission thing, but if you want to, I guess just I don't know.
Oh, Mexico. Mexico.
Yeah, it was really good. I put peanuts in it, dude. That's good stuff.
My dad used to do that with RC.
It's so good. Yeah, I like doing it with Coke. I think either one works. I'm so Alex, just so you know, and listeners, like this won't matter to you because you'll hear this, but I'm gonna switch it over to just lo-fi. So if you want to like get up or do whatever you want, just go do it. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. It shouldn't take long. It should be pretty quick.
I'm gonna browse Facebook.
Do it too. I'll be back in just 1 second. Sorry, man.
I feel like he didn't put on lo-fi. I feel like it's just me on the camera right now. I could be wrong. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look. Put on lo-fi, but y'all can still see me, right? Yeah. I think my camera's on too.
Okay.
Yeah.
You listen to the Baller Status?
Dude, I love lo-fi.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like the
Is
ultimate.
there a way to listen to it
Yeah.
other than you?
I got a good Spotify playlist you can follow. It's really good.
I just listen to the live lo-fi. Like that's what I've been doing on my comic shows.
Yeah.
I just put that on in the background.
Um,
I'll be grooving to that.
you should check out my playlist on Spotify. Cause
I'll do that, man.
I got a pretty good one on there. It's got like this huge playlist that was like already made by somebody, but I added all those songs and then a ton of other ones to it. It's got a ton on it.
But getting back to accountability, and we were talking about mayors and city council and that kind of thing. That's one thing we were talking about. Like, who can name how many seats are on their city council?
Right.
Or who's on? I don't even know one person on city council. I know that the mayor. I usually I would know her name just because she's involved. She's a big supporter of the rehab I work at.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't even think of her name right now. I don't know when the next city hall meeting is. I don't know what's on the agenda. I don't know what was on the last.
And I'm going to tell you right now, man, things even like this could be I just think the doors to the courthouse need to be open more, and I mean that in more of a metaphorical sense. Our
That's
government, our government buildings just need to be open. They just do.
why can't so in
I know
one
what you're
thing
gonna
that
say.
always baffled me, and I've been in courtroom quite a few times.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes in the orange jumpsuit, sometimes just for traffic, sometimes for other people.
Yeah.
One thing that's always baffled me is you can't bring cell phones in to the courthouse. At least here in Taylor County, you can't even bring your cell phone in. You can't even bring it in.
Oh.
And I'm just like, if you're a lawyer, you walk right through. You don't even go through the metal
Right.
detectors. Okay, that doesn't make sense to me. Um, I think it should be the
Lawyers can
right
kill
of the
people too.
citizen. Like, because I'm like, man, if I had the time, I would love to be a journalist who did nothing but
Take
go
a
to the
camera and go sit
courtroom,
at them. Yeah.
just go to the courtroom, and then like, hey, here's what happened in Taylor County District Court today.
Right.
I feel like that should be public knowledge. I know anybody from the public's allowed to go sit in, so why can I not record it?
It's pretty fucked.
Because the news can come in and record it. I've seen news stations come in and record.
And then even
snippets.
hey, even in some trials, there's no press at all allowed. Like it's like big no no.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Me
Yeah,
either.
it doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's pretty stupid. I mean, because and look, Live PD got canceled. I hate that. Not only because I watch that shit all the time,
Yeah,
but hey,
and it's one of the highest rating shows too, which is weird. I
right?
think it was just like everybody's like, well, I mean, that's we live in a capitalist society,
It's
and I'm not
hey,
anti-capitalist with
it's
that.
cameras on cops.
It's like as soon as something happens and someone does something controversial, all their endorsements get pulled
Right.
before they even get fired.
Stupid.
That's exactly what happened here. People are like, "Oh, cops are bad right now.
Right.
We better take them off our TV station."
Dumb. They said it.
I don't want to be associated with whatever's bad right now.
They set a weird precedent doing that too. I don't know
Well,
what.
yeah, because it's just further division.
Right,
Man.
right.
You know?
They took cameras off cops. Because I'll tell you now,
That's one thing I think.
I'd watch Live PD and think, wow, that guy's a dickhead. And I mean, there are some things that could. I'm not saying that he could get under investigation for, but there are some things that if I lived in that community and I watched Live PD and I watched my cops in my town do that shit, I would be at a fucking police station next morning. Facts.
Why the hell isn't there more being done about cops who cover up or take off their body cams?
I don't
Like,
know.
why isn't that like an automatic? You're gone and you're charged with a crime. That should be tampered with evidence.
Yes. With punishment, as far as accountability goes, if they can catch the shit, because who knows if they'll catch that or not. Which I guess that's a little bit more technical.
Anytime that your camera body cam is not working or it's covered up for any reason, there needs. Why was it covered up?
Right. Yes.
Like you got to think. Everybody else in the world who has a job, when they don't follow protocol on something,
I've got a friend. I've got a friend that works for Waste Management. Okay, there's no fucking reason that this should be this way, and it's not this way for the police. My friend works in Waste Management, and the other morning, oh gosh, I guess I could say this. It doesn't really matter. He got a review for it, so it's whatever. Chris, I hope I can say this. He did something, and something happened. We'll just make it vague. Something happened to where he was not on the road the whole time. I'll tell you later or something.
Oh, he was using company vehicle off for not company thing.
No, it wasn't that at all. It wasn't that. He was on his way to something. He was just driving, and he took his attention off the road for 2 seconds and ended up hitting the bump, the sleepy bumps, whatever those are called.
Yeah.
Dude, a camera sits inside of his cab and sits there, and it's pointed at him waiting. And when something like that happens, when a certain amount of G forces come and hit that car, that camera blinks on, and it's on. So he got recorded, and that actually I bet he was probably like I asked him, I'm like, dude, man, I bet it cannot feel great. I bet it's like this. I bet he holds himself fully accountable in that fucking vehicle while that camera's there on or not.
Yeah.
Why don't we have that? Why don't we have that? Why don't cops have that? You know how they got the fucking dash cam? Turn that bitch around. Like, I'm not saying that cops are bad or all cops are bad or anything like that. But, man, some cops are bad.
A lot of the protocols are just whack. And once again, comes back to, cops are focused on um, catching the bad guys.
Yeah.
You got to get the bad guy. Got to
Right.
get the bad guy.
And that's
And
not
they look
it's
at
not
him as
all
the
of
bad
it's not their complete job. That is a very important and very dangerous part of their job. We would
guy.
not us as civilians would not have any clue what that feels like. But us as civilians also like would react to that in certain ways, and the ones that would react in negative ways do not need to be a part of that. They just don't. And I think, I swear to God, dude, I swear to God, I think that right this second, if Donald Trump said every police station in America, you got to open your doors, you got to throw up a tent, you guys have to sit out there, you got to talk to your people. If he did that, we'd lose I'm not going to say half the force in America. We would lose a lot of police officers. If he said that you have to do that or get the fuck off the force. I swear to
You know what would
God.
happen? You know what happened if Donald Trump said that? There'd be a there'd be 1,000 instances of the news going. Donald Trump made police talk to civilians, took them off their job, and 5 million people died because of it.
Right, yeah, or something. Like I've got people that have done that shit. It's the Matt Bevin thing because he's very notorious for saying, well, we've got this thing that we can't have any fucking control over happening. Well, this many kids got sexually abused during that time. What do you think about that? Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Joke.
Shut up. That shit's garbage. That shit is
I'm
so
gonna say
stupid.
I'm gonna go ahead and okay. So this is perfect for this podcast. I don't know a whole lot about what happened with Matt Bevin. This is what I think I know. So basically, you had the teachers' pension fund, right? And that thing has been dead for a minute. Before he got in office,
Yes.
that pension fund has been every governor's plaything.
Mm-hmm.
When we need extra funds, it comes out of that.
Right.
Kind of like Social Security.
Right.
um, so Matt Bevin was the first one to go. There's no money in the account. All right, that's not his fault.
Right. I agree. I agree.
However, he didn't need to say, "Well, figure it out." Basically, what I understand he said was like, "There's no money in there. There's not going to be any money in there. Go get a fucking 401k is what you do."
Yeah.
And then he proceeded to trash talk the profession of teaching and nursing and all this shit.
And then, well,
In my opinion,
but he
it's
would
not
have.
Matt
Hey,
Bevin's
he would have.
fault
He would
there's
have
no
those.
money in there.
He would have those press conferences though, and never have any sort of development. That's that. If I were to explain Matt Bevin, I would have said exactly what you said, but keep repeating the press conferences, same fucking thing, every press
So
conference.
is that pretty accurate about
Yeah.
what the
Oh
Matt
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
In my opinion, this is what should have happened. Matt Bevin comes up, look, guys, I'm just being honest with you because I think that's what the American people want more than anything. Is just
Yes.
transparency.
That's why half the country voted for
There's
Donald
no
Trump.
money
That's why.
There's no money in the teacher's pension. Here's why, and then you can point out all the people who spent the money and why. Hold them accountable, all right, and then go. All right, I think maybe in the future we need to switch to a 401k or something, but we do owe it to those who paid in to get what we promised them.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out a plan to pay the people that we promised X amount of money for X amount of whatever, get that paid for, and then we rolling forward switch to a 401k or what, because that makes sense to me.
Agree.
That makes sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
He could have
if
even
I pay
he could have
into
even he could have even not told us why those things happened. Like I don't need really even an explanation. I want to know what we're going to do to fix it. Like that's the whole thing.
Well, it makes me wonder if the whole fiasco and all those gaffes and all those focusing on what he said or what kind of trash talk he said this week didn't divert our attention away from why is there no money in the pension fund?
Right.
Because to my knowledge, we never got an answer to that.
I guess so. It probably did divert the attention, but it definitely diverted the attention to the fact that he needs to get the fuck out of there because he tried to be a Trump in Kentucky. That's not how we fucking roll over here.
Well,
It's
Trump,
never.
Trump held a rally the night before election,
Yeah.
right for Matt Bevin.
Yeah.
And dude, when you look at it, and I think we discussed this around election time, if you take out, so just kind of like look at electoral colleges in America. I'm a big proponent for electoral colleges. Otherwise, you've got 2 or 3 cities across America deciding who the president is. Just the way it is.
Right. It's
All
garbage.
right?
Sorry.
When you look at the voting of Matt Bevin versus Andy Beshear, there was what? Like less than one half
Oh
of
my God.
1%.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Yes, dude. So many
Okay,
more
when
people.
you take out Fayette County or you take out Lexington and Louisville, Bevan won by like 8%.
Yep.
When you add those two cities in, Bevan lost by half of less than half of 1%.
Man, okay, hold on one
If
second.
there was electoral colleges in Kentucky, Bevan won.
Listen. A few people have said some things about that were a part of the discussion that we were having with body. One was about a body cam thing, and one was about a live PD thing. So I'm gonna throw those things out. All right.
Let's hear them comments.
It's pretty crazy. Casey Smith, I actually talked to him a little bit today. I don't want to get things wrong, so Casey, please correct me if I'm wrong about this. But I know that he's trained at least to be an MP, and he is an MP. I don't know if he's active. I don't know about that. Casey, if you want to throw me something to read, I'll gladly correctly say it. But we were talking a little bit about how military police are held to such different standards as regular police. Now,
Yeah.
of course, though,
Rules of engagement.
yes, everybody would be like, "Whoa, yeah, of course, dude, it's the military." Well, what the fuck's the difference? They both are enforcing laws on
Hmm.
U.S. sanctioned areas, so why the fuck are they not the same? He said that MPs have a dash cam and mirror cam, can't make it up, and a vest cam on them, not on not looking at others. We don't need that shit. If they can't even do that job right, then my God, what are you doing? But we need them. We need the camera turned around. We need that turned around. That's just my opinion on that. But dude, I don't. How do military police have all of these things? And I just don't. I don't know.
Well, even when they do have these body cams, so like, I don't know if you've seen it, but it was viral. This cop for months, like there were several instances of him planting evidence caught on his body cam. He'd pull people over, fucking plant some crack in their trunk. Look what I
Right.
found in your trunk,
I watched
and like
one thing
this
tonight.
happened like on several occasions, caught on his body cam. Why did it take so long for him to get caught?
Yeah, man.
Does no one
Hey, you know
watch his
what?
body cam?
That civilian board, they should get every fucking second of body cam, and if they want to look through it, they should. Who cares?
Well, and well, I see reasons why not. Okay, because then you got to go through how reliable are the people because there's active investigations going on.
Right. Well,
All right, and
maybe those
so
people need to
so
be
now you're
considered.
compromising active investigations, and that's thinking back on it. That's why you can't have cameras in a lot of courtrooms, is because
Right.
there are
Yeah.
parties who don't need to be privy on what's going on in the courtroom until their day in court, and you got co-defendants fighting the
Um,
same case in multiple days. So I see the arguments against it.
I do, but I'm not so sure that there's any reason that a civilian counsel and you are the first person to say that, and it's not like I'm saying that's a unique thought, but what I am saying is I haven't really put enough thought into a civilian counsel. I don't even care. I just want the cops in the streets, and I don't want them enforcing law. I want a cop. Man, you know what I would like to have? I'd like to be able to go somewhere. I'd like to take my son because my son loves anything emergency management at all, anything. And man, just
Mm.
go. But you know what? I could do that. I've got a cop that lives right down the street. I know for a fact I could take him down and we could just look at the cop car. But I think that there are families in my city right now that don't feel like they can come over to my neighbor's house and go check out his cop car. I
All right.
even just so much as having your son with you, you looking at a cop car, you sit there and chat with the police officer for a little bit. You feel better about police right there. That's inherent. And if that cop doesn't feel like he should have to do that, or if he doesn't feel like that contributes to helping out this community, get him the fuck out. Send him elsewhere. Make him go get involved in the means of production for that community because he does not need to be in the streets. I'm telling you right now. I've said it and I've typed it and I've seen myself say it. I don't have all the answers for everything. None of us do. That's why we do this. It's why we have open dialogue, which the police should do. But man, get the cops in the community. Every mayor should be on top of that. They should be on it. I don't know how you can do it, but man, figure it out, dude. Because we
Well, basically what you're saying is we need a better civilian police
Yes,
relationship.
there needs to be some sort of. There needs to be a. We need to. The way that I worded it
And
to.
just playing devil's advocate, I think the first argument is going to be, well, where's that extra time coming from? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Maybe ask the guy that's patrolling the street.
And
That
that brings me back to my point of if we were spending less time worrying about who's
exactly.
selling weed
Yeah.
or who's got heroin on them. I'm not saying that heroin and coke and meth and all that aren't scourges on society. I'm not. I'm just saying the evidence is in that we
Buddy,
decriminalize it.
you
It
can't
goes
tell
down.
me right now that there aren't people in this community, even in downtown Somerset, that are willing and ready to tell a cop of a place that they consider probably having drug activity. I
Put a
don't.
mouse on my face, dog.
What? Oh, sorry, dude. Sorry.
I'm like, what the hell is that?
I don't care to even say this, but I had some people that lived near me. I knew they were involved in drug activity. Now, I'm a very big person on what happens on your property stays on your property. But my son's outside playing. They are in direct view. It's not like my son can be impressionable and like think, wow, they're doing heroin over there, or say, or come up with something like that. But we had people that were sitting in front of my house that were waiting for their little delivery. Too far,
Yeah.
too far. I went actually to the police station here in town. I talked with an officer. It was a great conversation. It's 2 weeks later and they're not there anymore. Why can't we have more of that stuff? I know that that's like a red flag law type thing, but man, guess what I just did? I kept money in the community. It's not like I'm saying me. The police officers clearly did it, but I don't know. I had a dialogue, and guess what? When those police officers left that house, because I was outside, it wasn't like I was outside like, but I was outside. That the police officer that I spoke to looked at me and he did a thumbs up, and that was cool as shit. That's
Well, and the
that's
problem
even
is that you're gonna
dialogue
have
right
a lot
there.
of people. I wish somebody would have done that shit to me when I was out there acting like a fucking fool a lot quicker than when I did get locked up.
Why, Alex? Because you wanted you
Because I'm better off for it now.
right, and you're better off because you ended up holding yourself accountable, but somebody would have held you accountable.
The court system worked in my favor, as opposed to a lot of other people. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's one thing Kentucky does right is we do offer rehab time and time and time again. You know what I mean? I don't know if our listeners know this. I'm open about it. I'm a recovering drug addict. I've been to the court systems. I've been arrested. Um, here's one. Okay, so I was arrested. Technically, it was an illegal search and seizure. I was pulled over as a passenger in a uniform traffic citation. Guy's registration was canceled or something. All right, I'm a passenger. I've broken no laws. He's got no right to search me.
Right.
All right, absolutely no right to search me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they were tipped off or some shit. But anyway, they searched me, had shit on me. I went to jail. I mean, eventually I was on probation. Couldn't do that, which we have. So, point is though. Long
Listen,
story short,
I'm gonna throw one in there just exactly like this. Me and Evan were going through Stanford once. He ran a red light, and he almost hit a cop. It was so stupid. He was messing with his radio. He almost hit a cop. Runs a red light. The cop pulls him over. I had like a back.
right next to Lincoln Manufacturing.
Yeah, it was right there, down there in the fucking speed trap.
I figured out if someone ran a red light, it'd be a
Yeah, the cop comes up to the window. He's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Evan's like, "Man, I didn't see you. I didn't mean to." The cop not only searched the whole car. I mean, what are we gonna do? We're not gonna fucking say, "No, you can't search the car." We're fucking little impressionable 17-year-olds. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. He searches the car, and maybe he should have searched the car if it was if I think Evan may have been 19 and I was 17. But he searched my shit too. I may have been 18. I don't think I was 17. I don't think I was a minor. Because if I was a minor, then I could understand it too. I'm pretty sure I was 18. He searched my shit. He searched Evan's shit. He had a right to search Evan's shit probably because Evan almost T-boned a cop in an intersection. He didn't have the right to search my shit. It's not like he should have been held accountable for that. But, the saying goes, I guess, that you should.
I mean, looking back on it now, I'm grateful I got arrested.
Right, right.
I'm grateful for the way it worked out.
I'm grateful that cop didn't do everything by the book.
But dude, he pulled his taser out on me, and you know what? Maybe if I'd been black, that'd have been a gun, not a taser.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. And people in this area, we need to understand that across the nation, places that aren't metropolitan areas.
whenever they were searching me, and I was like, "Nah, you ain't searching me," and all this. Never did I worry that I might die right now.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? I didn't even worry about that. I was like, "Damn, dude, I'm going to jail."
In
You know what I
community
mean?
in communities like this and Danville, maybe Danville will probably maybe be a little bit different, but you know,
Lancasters have multiple in the last 15 years. There's one cop in you do you we. There's been multiple killings of unarmed civilians by one police officer in particular, who went on to be the police chief.
oh, that's great, and that's in Lancaster.
Wild, wild. Lancaster's wild.
And hey, and check this. This is something that people need to understand too. They were probably mostly white. Am I correct on that, or do you know the
I
victims?
believe
Probably.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
that's
remember, but I believe so.
right, and that's what people need to understand. That's what happens whenever I think that it's a certain sector of the community gets focused on because of the war on drugs, which is a very good point. I didn't. Whenever you said that, I was trying to piece it together to this like hardcore thought that I've already come up with, but it is very very much a part of it because with the war on drugs and the ability to get and meet a quota if there is one, um, most of that probably comes from drug related things, like you said. And where does drug related stuff come from? Lower poverty lines, like lower class people. And here that just so happens to be mostly white people. So police are interacting with mostly white people here in places like this that end up maybe being having power abuse or something like that. That's something people need to really realize. So like I don't know. Accountability is just really important. Like it's the most important, probably
Well,
one of
that's
the
the
most.
first thing they teach you. That's the big thing taught um, in rehab. It's all about accountability.
It should be taught in school. It should be like a. We should have a pledge to accountability, like instead of the allegiance. We can do that first or second, whatever you
Here's
prefer.
Lincoln County Sheriff's deputy shot. Okay, shot in Gary County.
Hey, have you heard about the shit that happened here in Burnside? Have you heard about all that?
No.
Oh my god, it's fucking crazy. One of the fucking constables shot an FBI agent.
Oh, I did hear about
Dude,
that.
now listen. Whenever I talked to our mayor, I was like, "Look, it's not like we have a racial disparity here. It's not like we have a disproportionate amount of people of a certain race that are getting brutalized by police. But what we do have is a town that's less than 10 miles away that is been made national news because two of the constables for that place are allegedly doing some very bad and shitty and shady things. I mean, one shot at an FBI. He shot an FBI agent. He hit him, and he's being charged with it now. So I don't know. But like, I think communities should go ahead, get ahead of the bullshit. And by bullshit, I do not mean anything in particular other than unneeded aggression towards police, if it's unneeded, and just community outreach. I think that needs to be a focus. I think that should be a focus for the nation for the next 6 months. We've got healing to do. It's pretty rough right now. The two things that I had pulled up, Alex, that thing that you were looking at, and you were like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
It's a study that the University of Michigan did about mechanisms of accountability and accountability in authoritative positions and what happens therein, and basically the effectiveness of that, because I think that's very important. And man, it's just kind of unanimous that it's a trickle up type thing. Like it's not really, that's not really what I got from this, but it kind of just shows that accountability is just important. It's important to harmony, to social harmony, just period. Yeah. Okay, one guy said I'm horny. Some guy from Twitch said I'm horny.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Dutch Fargo, really
Reminds me of the
appreciate
whole
that.
Xbox 360.
Yeah, that's good
Uh,
stuff.
Xbox 360.
Okay, Michelle Adams said, Live PED had an issue with destroying footage for a death of a man in Texas. To my understanding, they didn't air the footage and it wasn't part of a live show, but it's being investigated now. She sent me a link. Yeah, here's like a link to it. I gotta like turn off.
I've always wondered how cops and shit happen. Like, because
Right.
like old school cops, like you just had like a camera crew that would like roll
Yeah.
around with cops randomly and like hope some shit would pop off.
and that's how um Live PD does it too, but I think that's very, very picked and choose. I'm gonna,
Live PD was like Cops except modern age, right?
yeah,
It was like
I
it's
think
like okay, now we're gonna roll on over to this and see what's going
I
on
think
over
it was a
here.
little bit more like cheesy, like kinda like it seemed a little bit more put together than Cops. Cops, man, I'm not. I'm
Think back on watching Cops. How many of those cops was drug related? Rest is drug related.
yeah, there's a lot, a ton.
That or you saw a lot of domestic violence in
Yeah,
Cops
well,
too.
that's ones that probably got ratings, so that's probably why we saw that. I want.
Usually due to alcohol or drugs.
Video filmed by a live PD crew of an in custody death of a black man last year has been destroyed and can no longer be turned over to Austin investigators, representatives of the reality TV show
What?
said Tuesday.
Destroyed?
The disclosure by A&E Networks came a day after the Austin American Statesman and KVUE TV first reported details of the 2019 death of Javier Ambler while being arrested by Williamson County Sheriff's deputies in connection with a traffic violation. A&E confirmed Tuesday that video of the tragic death of Javier Ambler was captured by body cams worn on the officers involved, as well as by producers of Live PD who were riding with certain officers involved. It said the incident did not occur while the show was airing live, and that the video was not broadcast later. Okay, this is not okay. It's kind of long. Let's kind of cut through this. A&E's statement said that Austin investigators did not ask for the video or to interview show producers. As is the case with all footage taken by Live PD producers, we no longer retain the unaired footage after learning that the investigation had concluded. The contract between Williamson County and Live PD producers at place in the time of Ambler's death allowed the show to destroy unaired footage within 30 days unless a court order or other state federal law required it to be retained. What the fuck? Well, then I'm not so upset about Live PD. Well, I mean, this is one case. Now, if this were to happen regularly or like consistently, I mean, I guess it could be a future problem.
So why was the footage destroyed?
It was destroyed, I guess, because they knew they couldn't air it, and then they had a contract with Williamson County, I guess, police or sheriff's department, whoever they're talking about. They had a contract with them that said they were allowed to destroy unaired footage within 30 days unless a court order or other state or federal law required it to be retained.
That's evidence, right?
Right.
How is that legal?
So basically,
I don't understand that at all.
Basically, Live PD isn't really. Well,
I mean, a Live PD isn't responsible. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. I'm not saying they're the ones who fucked up.
Well, they aren't.
But
This is one case. It's very anecdotal to just like use one case towards it. But apparently in this case, that didn't hold them accountable. It didn't work. Live PD didn't do what I thought that Live PD inherently did across the board forever. So that's cool.
I mean, that's just like Epstein.
I've got a guy on Twitch, one of my friends, Wesley Turkey Sage, and then I've got another guy on Twitch also that's a mod, and they're just kind of watching that chat. I said the thing about what that guy said earlier, and then that mod guy just said I deleted it. So I guess I shouldn't have probably mentioned it because nobody would have known. But that guy said he's horny, guys. It's just that's just.
Hey, if we're not getting trolls saying they're horny on Twitch, are we doing a podcast?
What are we doing right? Oh my god.
So I can't find anything on. I found talking about the Lancaster shootings. I found a few sites, but every time I go to it, it's like this is no longer available.
Oh. Casey said, our motto is of the troops for the troops. Imagine if the civilian sector thought the same way. True. Yeah. Of the civilians for the civilians. It's literally needs to be something that is repeated and just said in the police force. I don't understand why that's not already a motto. I don't get it.
All right, so when is the next time that I will go to the polls and vote?
Okay. Yes. Listen. Hold on. We're kind of done with the accountability thing. I think there's one thing I want to mention to you, and then I'm done with that, and then we can just do whatever you want. We can talk about this because it's very, very important. I did see that things that are happening in certain places. I tried to look up a couple, but I just had enough time to get one. But in Michigan, there's already
You still got that web page pulled up.
oh shit. In Michigan, there's already a Senate bill like getting ready to be thrown on the floor. I think it's actually already went to the floor and it's up for review before it actually gets voted on. It's somewhere in the process right now. But Senator Jeff Irwin proposed.
Still up. There we go. It's fixed now.
Yeah, Senator Jeff Irwin proposed Senate Bill 945, which just literally just you know how people say defund the police. Well, this is what some of the people that say that mean. I'm not sure about the defunding part. Haven't looked into the numbers of whether or not a militarized police force. I don't know. Haven't looked into that. But what they have done in Michigan and started to do is change minimum training standards. I think that's something that needs to be looked at. I also think what people need to do, and I talked to a police officer from Lancaster and talked to him about this, and he said that standards for Kentucky are already crazy different compared to other states. I think that things that need to change may be within some sheriff's departments and constable entities. I don't know if that's a thing, whatever. But Michigan is working on the most vital thing that they want to teach police officers is de-escalation. I think it's great. That should be what happens anyways. Military police, I talked to Casey about this yesterday. Military police are very trained in de-escalation and like violence mitigation and stuff like that to kind of play people down instead of getting in their face and trying to work with intimidation to make somebody comply with orders that they probably need to follow to keep everybody safe. They're gonna have bias checks. I don't know how that's gonna really work out.
That's what I was just looking up. So the legislation, Senate Bill 945, would add those elements to Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards certification requirements for incoming recruits. So this doesn't do anything for already
right.
police officers. This is incoming.
So leave the embedded fuckers
also
alone.
Requirements for current law enforcement to receive continuing education annually. So it would do those two. Michigan law officers would have to undergo ongoing training on implicit bias in violence, de-escalation, and participate in mental health screenings under legislation passed unanimously in this. Why was that not already a thing?
Right, man. This needs to happen across the nation. Accountability needs to be. I'm going to tell you what. I think that really what people need to start looking at is account like we've got healthcare and healthcare is a big inherent problem, but why do we use it for a dichotomy when we could use this as a dichotomy point? Like, hey, listen, accountability. Listen, we're not saying that the police need to be shamed or that they need to be reprimanded. I mean, the ones that do bad, yeah, doubly. I literally think that they should receive double charges if they're caught doing some bad shit. Double it. I don't give a fuck. Case by case,
here's
of course.
Here's where my first. I'm not saying this absolutely needs to happen across the board, but then okay, defund the police, but we need to hire some people to train these people too.
Right. Yeah.
How does that work? So now we're gonna have to spend more money.
Well, I think when I've heard somebody, what I try to do whenever I hear some stupid phraseology like that, defund the police.
I ignore them.
I definitely, you can't listen to that shit. But I definitely will listen to somebody that wants to try to explain their position on it. Of course, the position that I've had explained, this was not by somebody that actually wanted to say defund the police. This is by somebody that actually wanted what they told me, and they just wanted to take that edgy side of defund the police. They're ACAB, by the way. They said that basically it's just a reallocation of all the funds that the police have, and basically an audit. I think that there should be a police audit.
Well, I've seen some people be like posting that it's a real famous meme going around like, "Oh, what would happen if you disband?" Because there's some who are going, "No, I mean disband the police."
Right.
All right. Have social workers and stuff like that. You ain't gonna have no social worker crawl up into a hostage situation and fucking de-escalate that shit.
No. Me and my friends had.
You're not.
Go ahead.
Like sometimes you just need that sniper up on the fucking roof.
Right. Me and my friends had the idea of like what they could do if they were gonna actually like send social workers out. We could stop at this generation, and we would all have to produce one child, and we could send them to one. We could send one, or we could send all the boys to like MMA school, and all the guys that could fight or something, and then we could send everybody that wants to be a social worker to like college, and then we could just have those two go together, and that could be the police force, I guess, if we're gonna defund the police.
See, I'm going to school for a social work degree. I'm telling you, I ain't gonna do no cop job.
Oh man, that's crazy shit.
But I mean, look at Chaz. Look at Chaz. You want to see what happens whenever you fucking disband the police?
Right.
Look at the Chaz right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple videos coming out now, and we talked about this. You see both sides. You see these videos of or pictures. I don't really see a lot of videos of them. Just harmony and growing food and
Right.
singing songs, and everybody's getting along, and it's a great day. And then you see the other reports of like I saw two videos today. One where a guy was like he had like this giant Bose speaker and he was blaring Christian music through
Right.
it. And like one of these dudes stole this dude's phone and they were like walking him out of Chaz.
Mm-hmm.
And like dude's like they just stole my phone and they're like no you gotta go. You know what I mean like they're so like okay it's okay to take property. You know what I mean? And dude said no we can't hurt him. They're watching us. Like they know they're being watched right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
They know all eyes are on them right now.
Yes.
So they're being extremely careful.
Have you heard
with
that
what they do?
some
And
people were trying to do it in Louisville? That's what I. That's,
And then there was another video of a guy who's sitting in his car. I didn't see what happened beforehand. Okay, I just saw the aftermath. His windshield was busted in, and he was sitting there like red faced. I don't know if he got punched or if he was just mad. And like someone stole his phone, and someone stole his car keys, right? And the funniest thing, and he's sitting there yelling like, "They stole my shit!" And like, guess what? There's nothing you can do about it. It's the Wild West, dude.
Yeah.
Strongest survive.
Yeah.
Mob mentality. Okay. The funniest part of it was there was like a 12 pack of soda on the ground in front of his car, and this like he's like freaking out. Someone stole his car keys and all this shit. And this girl just kind of walks up and takes one of those sodas and walks off. And I just thought that was the funniest shit. Like,
Jeez.
there are no possessions. Take what you want.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the wildest shit.
Like you said, I've seen a lot of back and forth about it, and whether or not, I don't know really what to
It's
believe.
stupid. I'm sorry. I can't take Chaz seriously.
Yeah.
What are you going to do whenever they shut the fucking water off?
Hey.
You have no means of supplying your own water, your own electricity.
Something that I
You
saw.
have no means of any sort of production. Well, it's like, it reminds me of that Family Guy episode where he makes Petopia.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is insane.
I saw something where they were like, I think it was a Steven Crowder thing too, but I saw where he was like making fun of them because somebody took some pictures of them like planting like stuff, like just like making a garden. All they did was take fucking potting soil and dump it on the ground and put plants under that pot. I'm not joking. They don't even like, and I'm not
I saw a picture. And I don't know how staged it is or whatever. It was like it was a small, shitty looking garden. It was like this is the blacks only garden. I'm like, we're fucking segregating ourselves now.
Yeah, listen.
And there's one guy in there, and he's yelling like, "If you're white and you're in Chaz, you need to give $10 to a black person right now to prove that you're part of this movement."
Oh my god, dichotomy! Just screaming. Let's create division somehow.
And I've heard. Reports of like, so you got two sides. You got one side that's like, man, even the businesses in town are behind it. They're donating stuff. And then you hear the other side is like, basically they're going up to these businesses and like, you're going to donate or we're going to take it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. What I have seen, and this is to me what I have thought of and made important during all this stuff, is I've watched a lot of live feeds. I've watched a lot of people walking through there with live, like we're talking as they're walking through it legit. Doesn't seem in that much disarray to me. I actually saw the other morning, I was watching a guy walk through, and he walked past these like 3 sofas that were sitting out in the middle of the street, but they were sitting there, and it was like, let's have a chat about. And then I think it was like a evolving subject, but at that time it was anti-racism, and they had a guy. They just stood there and he listened to him talk for a minute, and that's what they were doing, man. I don't know. They're opening dialogue there. They're doing way more than.
I'm sure it's a good time, and I'm sure there's a lot of good vibes going around. But I mean, I'm just thinking about it logically. Like this ain't gonna
Oh
last, man.
God, no! It's not a
And
functional
I
thing.
do see the right wing irony in like, okay, so the leftists or whatever imperialize a section of town, and what's the first thing they do is they put up a border wall,
Right?
and
Yeah.
they fucking
Right.
they arm themselves on that border
Right.
wall,
Hey, but
and they
look, but
enforce a
look.
strict border.
I'm gonna tell you now. I feel like a little bit. I'm not saying that you are being biased, but I don't give a fuck.
Oh, I guarantee I'm being
If
biased.
those people right there will think that that's what they need to do to get that message out, I'm not gonna say that it's a bad thing.
Did you
I'm
see
not
their
gonna
list
say
of
it's a good
demands
thing.
though?
I don't
It's like
care.
Occupy
I don't
Wall
care about
Street.
that shit. I don't care about it.
I do because it's like Occupy Wall Street, dude. You got this like all eyes are on you right now, and you could effectively make some change.
Okay, okay,
And what do?
okay.
You set out this list of demands there and just uh, uh, uncompromising and
Right.
just make it where like everyone's like, oh, okay, you're just full of shit.
I kind of assumed you were dismissing it like completely, but you're right. That's the point. I don't think that they've lost the message that they're trying to send because I don't think that listed. I haven't looked at a list of demands because I don't give a shit about that. If that's what people want to focus on, then that's like people that focus on looting right now. To me, to be honest, uh, I just want to see the fight because it's going to happen. I don't know who it's
Well,
going to
eventually they're
be.
going to take that land back. You can't just.
Right.
I mean, and the problem is you just see that all these. It's this Facebook meme, fucking toxic reality we live in, where something like that happens, and it just becomes a fucking talking point for everything that's wrong with America. Like,
right.
oh, you don't like America stole land from the Native Americans, and now all of a sudden you have a problem with it. Like, well, two wrongs don't make a right, baby. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
you can't change. Okay, well, fucking vacate your house and go fucking swim across. Like, what do you want me to do?
I wonder
Like,
how many of
what we
them.
did to the Native Americans was fuck.
I,
But what do you want us to do? Just fucking turn. Here you go. Here you go. Fucking. I don't know what percentage of America is Native Americans. Just give back to them.
yeah.
Is that what you want? What do you want? What do you want?
I wonder how many of them there that are actually there think that's a permanent thing. I wonder how many actually think that.
Surely no one thinks that that's gonna be a permanent thing.
I would hope
And then
not.
you got people being like, so the looting, all of a sudden you have a problem with looting, but go look at a museum. You're drawing parallels here where you can't really draw parallels.
What?
Okay,
I've never even heard that. What do they mean? Like,
you haven't seen that? Oh,
no.
it's basically saying that everything in a museum was looted from another country. Which I
Oh,
mean,
God
when you're in
forbid.
war, I mean,
Oh,
yeah, a lot of it is,
Jesus.
but that's not everything. Like the Egyptians, when that shit was uncovered, they fucking loved that shit. Yes, please.
Right.
Did you know how much money that pours in the economy of
Oh,
that
yeah.
area?
Oh, God. It's probably
And
a
they,
huge leg
and
on
they
it.
parade it around the world. Like people don't understand museums a lot. I feel like because it's not like it's the property of the people. That's what
Right.
most museums are.
Hmm.
There are probably are
Paid for by
private
the
museums
people
out
too.
there.
Paid for by the people
Yeah,
in most in
yeah.
not
Most
most but some
museums
cases.
are donation
Yeah.
only. Like I went to the I want to say Cincinnati Museum, and I mean it's just like all donations. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some government grants involved and stuff like that.
Why,
But
hey, why'd you go to that museum?
because we were up around that way, and I was like, I just dig that kind of shit. I'm bougie like that,
Well,
I guess.
the reason I asked, go ahead. What?
Oh, I was gonna say the one thing I noticed, dude. It was like the museum was amazing and immaculate, but it was right next to just the slums, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? And it just got me
I,
thinking, like,
hey, listen.
got
I thought you were
you
going to
see
say something
all the
about that being the old Justice League, Justice Friends or whatever building, right?
the what?
That you went to that big Cincinnati museum with that huge big ass place, like the big deal.
It's huge, dude.
Now if this is the same one you went to, that they used that in some filming for some Marvel or DC thing. I forget. Justice.
Oh hell yeah!
It's called Justice Hall. Like
The Hall of Justice.
Yeah.
Get it right.
oh, sorry, dude. But no. But hey, but I think that place is called Justice Hall. I think it was made for something else, and then some movie was
And then when
made.
you walk up, there's like these big steps leading up. And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
got these pillars.
That was used in.
It's-
Hey, you need to look it up if you didn't already know. I figured you would have known, but that's used in.
No, I
some,
didn't know that.
That's used in some DC Marvel something. I don't know. I knew it had some significance. That's why I asked if that's why you went.
But could you? So like when you're rolling in there, like you go under, like it's right off like this big highway,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's this huge homeless population down there,
Yeah.
um, and like just I mean just the broke part of town, and then like not even a mile away you go through these green, like you start getting into the museum and it's these green pastures,
Yeah.
it's, and just this immaculate,
Same thing with the zoo.
just immaculate museum. And you got to think, and it gets you thinking. Like, God, you start looking at that donor list, people who donated X amount of money, and they're on this plaque. And you're like, God, the amount of money that could go into this community,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with hospitals. Like, that's the big problem is people want to immediately vilify someone when something, when there's a problem, when there's an injustice going on, or when someone doesn't have enough. You got to have someone to point the finger at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it the museum's fault? No,
No.
it's not the museum's fault. But it makes you think,
Is
like,
it the
God, man.
donors' fault?
No, like, I mean, no one can tell the donors what they need to do with their money.
Right.
Like, I hope to God that me personally, personal accountability, that when I have the account of money where I can donate literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to a museum, I also put some of that money somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
So let me ask you this. I didn't want to sit here and focus on this, but I do want to ask you, and I don't know if I should even ask you off camera, but this is kind of on the spot, so it doesn't really matter now, I guess. I don't want to ask you, like, what you think I should say to my mayor, but you know the profession that I want to involve myself with. I'm not
Right.
saying it out loud because I don't want to throw a bias and I don't really want to say something like that. I don't know. It may not even happen. Who knows? I really would like it to, but it may not. Anything? I mean, like, I don't know a realistic approach on how to truly say, we need to.
I'm not really versed in Somerset. One thing I would ask him is why we got to have so many fucking chicken joints in Somerset.
Law. Yeah, I think it's out of his hands, probably. I don't know. I would hope to God.
But no, I mean, what do you feel like the biggest problem in Somerset is? I feel
Now
like
look. It's first off, to my knowledge, there's not a problem, but there is a problem, and it's like a hidden problem. It's not even really a problem.
Get that mouse off my face,
dude.
God
Sorry,
bless.
man. I have to click on it like every few minutes, or it'll go away, and I do it and leave it there. There's not a disparity. There's no sort of police violence or anything like that here. I will say that we have had a probably divulgence of trust because of the thing that happened with the two constables in Burnside, but. And that's just a kind of a
That's
bonus.
an elected position, though.
Right.
People don't even know that. That's an
true.
elected position.
True. And they're consistently voting them in. And hey, and hold on. I'm trying to remember something that somebody told me about that. I can't remember. But
you want to know what I know about constables?
What?
That's what they called the policeman in Mary Poppins. That's what I know about constables.
I think that somebody told me that they're elected. I just don't understand how the fuck you can consistently elect somebody that a very large portion of I haven't heard a single person say anything good about either of those officers. I haven't heard a word.
What is a constable? I mean, when I think about when have I ever seen the constable do anything except drive his car?
Right.
I mean, this is just me. I don't even know what a fucking constable does.
Right. I mean, it's pretty much an LEO. It's pretty much an officer. Just an elected one. It's probably kind of like a sheriff without the deputy.
I've seen LEO a lot. What does that stand for?
Law enforcement officer.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I feel stupid now. Okay.
Judy Stroyer on Twitch said defunding results in less funds for training to improve the police. And then I think she said LOL because I think you may have said it right at that time because it's a good thing that everybody needs to remember. I think that funds reallocated would be probably the better way if somebody wanted to approach maybe discussing it and talking about it.
I saw a graph that showed how much police budget is compared to all the other social. I mean, education.
Oh my
police.
God! Right.
It's like what?
I wonder how much of that. I wonder how much of that is from drug seizure and stuff like that. Because I wonder if you listen. That is money from this community. I don't give a fuck what you say. Drug seizure money. It's of course sometimes it's case by case. All of this stuff's case by case. But that's money from the community. I don't see why at least maybe a portion of that isn't put back into it if it is. And that's not like a big point of mine that I need to make like to somebody to.
I mean, you got. I
But
mean,
just
if you
just a
roll
thought.
down your city and look at the cop cars, man. Every year they get brand new, nice.
They need nice
Did
cop
you see that
cars.
picture of that Lamborghini?
That's
That
retard.
cop,
That's too far. That's just too much. Like a
did you see
Lamborghini?
that?
No, I haven't. I have seen that.
Oh, I gotta show you
I
this.
think that it
This is
may be
wild.
Louisville that has a Corvette state police car. I think. Can't remember. Now, Corvette state police. That's kind of like maybe a different thing. But is it an active police car? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be paid for by the people. Like if
That's
there's
okay. See, it's not just an American problem. Police Lamborghini. Italy's newest police car is a Lamborghini.
Jesus man.
That was from 2017.
Some
Probably, and well, it's probably just what do you call it? Something stunt. You know what I mean?
publicity thing. See,
Yeah, publicity
or it's like
stunt.
this. Maybe just like the one, and it may have been a Bowling Green police officer, a state police officer. I don't even know where they were from, but they got a Corvette state police car.
Yeah.
But that's kind of understandable. Only if we didn't pay for it. Taxpayers didn't pay for it because Corvettes are made here.
Honestly,
So
when you look on it, like usually when you look on the back of a cop car paid for by drug users,
right, yeah.
that's usually what you see.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my cop cars these days is like, you can't tell that they're cop cars.
Right,
They have
right.
police on the side where it's like it's only visible like on a certain light
Yep.
hits it,
Mm-hmm.
and then like they got lower profile and lower
I
profile.
I
and lower
have
profile. And then all of a sudden now they're just inside
yeah.
the car.
Mm-hmm. I've printed graphics, or not printed, but cut graphics for police cars that you wouldn't be able to tell they're police cars unless you shine a light on them or saw them in nighttime.
Yeah, that's like, why are we doing that?
Right. Like, why are you hiding? That's not what. That's. I had somebody actually talk to me about that pretty recently of how they just hide. Like, in certain areas where people are speeding or maybe there's more accidents, I kind of understand. I kind of do. But man, like disguising yourself from the get-go, like if my son saw your car, he should be able to know that's a police car. He shouldn't know wonder or anything like that, because that's just ridiculous. Somebody that's from Somerset said something about the constables. They said, and it's not like a personal weird thing that I'm gonna bring up, but they were not good officers. Every time they pulled me over, they wasted my time and usually were dicks for no reason. Yeah.
A little bit of power.
The colors shouldn't put the fear of God into you. Rogan had somebody talk about this, but I can't remember who or what they said, but they made good points about cops not putting the fear of God in you. Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's like you get that your heart drops. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I'll not be doing anything wrong. And now me, I probably have some minor form of PTSD. I hate saying shit like that, but like you gotta think when my interactions with the police have been largely unhealthy.
Right.
But even so, all right. So my mom was a dispatcher, and I saw the other day where Black Americans, it said white privilege is not having to like think about every movement you make when you have interaction
Right.
with the police. And I think this is just because my mom was a dispatcher, but I was taught anytime I get pulled over by the police, what I do is I immediately try to put on my flashers and pull over.
Yeah.
Immediately. I turn the engine off the car and I throw the keys on the desk, on the dash, up there where they can see it. I roll down my driver's side window all the way. If I do have my wallet handy, I try to go ahead and get it out. But if not, limp wrists over the steering wheel.
Oh,
All right, I want to look like less of a threat as possible.
Right.
It makes them feel safe.
I
You
put
know
my
what I mean?
I do all of that, but put my hands on the steering wheel. That's kind of like even
If you put
farther.
your wrists over the steering wheel where they can see your hands, and I've had officers compliment me on that.
Wow.
Like, thank you for doing that. And then anytime you make a movement, be like, the license and registration. I'll be like, my wallet's over here in the glove box. Do you care if I reach for it?
Right.
Okay, I'll reach for it, or whatever, or
Some,
and I've never had a
some
problem.
people don't want to have to feel like that in front of other people, and that's just stupid though. That's just stupid. Like, man, that, like, some people just turn around and shoot cops. Like, sometimes they just turn around and shoot them. So, like, let's just make them feel comfortable when they're approaching my vehicle to a person they don't know. And
I'll say, and I'm not a big, I'm not huge on white privilege, but I have to look at it. Like, when I do that, I'm like, man, I hope he enjoys this and I don't get a ticket out of it.
right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever do it going, man, God, I hope when I do this I don't die.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Ever.
So there's
Not
the
one
difference.
time.
Not once have I ever thought, God, I hope I don't die during this interaction.
Right. And especially, like, even kids that are over here, like in rural areas, and like I called Somerset like a hybrid rural suburban area, because it kind of is a little bit. We're newly progressive here. I feel like
I've got about that big old strip, man. I love Somerset. I wish I wasn't so far away. Y'all, I'm gonna tell you one thing about Somerset. We have a Yamato's here in Campbellsville that just sucks. All right, It's the only sushi in town. I went to Yamato's. I didn't know it sucked until I went to Somerset Yamato's, and I'll buy the same roll, the same sushi roll, here in Campbellsville, and like, it's tiny, dude. It's tiny. It's like that. It looks like one of those roll your owns. I got the same thing in Somerset, and like, there's just a little bit of crab on top of it, just barely. It looks like they cut it up with safety scissors. I get that as like an addition to my meal here. I went to Somerset and got it. They're bringing out this deep fried. This thing's the size of my arm. The discs
you like deep
are
fried
every
sushi?
bit of that big, that fat. I'm like, it's got a whole mess of crab meat on top, and I'm like, that's a fucking meal. Man. Anytime I go to Somerset, I'm going to Yamato's and getting real. And
you should try one of our 42 chicken places, bro. Come on. Get out of here with that. We have some good chicken places now, though. We got Chick-fil-A up in
Michelle Adams has been making a lot of comments.
She has. The two things that she said just now, but I was let us finish that thought. There's a young man making things that go in your car window to hold your license and an insurance card. Hey, you don't look. I'm not saying that nobody should be scared of police. I'm not saying that at all. But man, you shouldn't have to do that, and you don't have to do that.
You shouldn't have to be scared of police.
Right. Listen, make this bridge with your community. I don't give a fuck if you're Somerset. I don't care. Do it. Governors, the president should hold governors accountable for it, for making sure something happens with community and police. The governor should make sure the person under them, all the way down until the cops. And if the cops won't do it, they need to get the hell out. They need to be pulled.
Well, here's what I worry, man. All this stuff is going on. You got all these protests.
Hey,
and you did have some rioting and looting.
I don't know if you're going to say you can't do it in those places, but I'm going to tell you what. You open up a precinct, it's going to help fix things. This is an inherent thing. This is not something that...
My worry is something's going to happen, distract the population, and it's just going to be old news again. It's going to be the status quo again. I'm worried. Nothing's going to change. But I do see some change happening.
We got to jump on it, like right now. That's why I don't know. I don't usually do things like that. I usually just run my mouth on Facebook, like with politics and talking and all that stuff. We just got to do something around here. I don't care. This place will do it. Places like this. I saw that
email you wrote back to him, and one of the biggest things I like that you wrote is like, nothing's going on here, but I think we should still be ahead of the game.
We should set an example.
We should be proactive about it.
We should set an example, and we should get ahead of it before it even becomes a thing. People in Crab Orchard are getting screamed at and called colored people and N-words because they're out just showing support because a little girl that may feel disheveled because of the things going on in the world want to get out in their community. That's garbage. Not only should people of every single ethnicity, everything, every way of life, and I don't even know, should be there supporting her that's in her community. It makes me... Now, I will say this. There are a lot of people that are doing that, and she's in it's Crab Orchard. There's racist people there. We all know it. But there's no reason that somebody like that should feel alone. And even when she goes home at night, the protesters that were in support aren't with her. And then she has to wake up maybe the next morning and think about how potentially she could get arrested and get shot or something.
Well,
That's
this
not
is what I
cool.
saw. Okay, so I saw the protests in Campbellsville. Okay, and at first I thought it was a car wash.
Apparently, the same guy came back yesterday and said a lot of crazy things. That's garbage.
That's wild. Um, it looked like a car wash, and it looked like a bunch of middle schoolers and high schoolers, a few adults. At least the first one. I think there was a second, like a march or something, a parade that went over a lot better. But I was like, man, I'm sure you want to be out there. Cool, man, awesome. One, don't make me feel bad because I have a busy day. You know what I mean? Like I'm so sick of people saying like if you're not out there, then you're not an ally or blah 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 blah. Like,
Right.
but you don't know what's going on in my life.
Right.
And second, like let's not make this just a popular thing to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like the one person I've ever unfriended on Facebook, of course you saw that. Like one of the last things she said before I unfriended her was like, uh, I've got a protest to go to. Like that gave her the moral high ground. Like I've got a protest to go to. And I'm like, you don't know what I do in my life.
Right.
And I didn't even bring up the fact that like, look, I work at a rehab center every day of my life. You know,
Right.
like I'm working with drug addicts, advocating for drug addicts and doing all like every day of my life I'm doing this because I don't feel like it's not something to wave around. You know what I'm saying on the podcast right now, but it's not like look at me and look how much of an ally I am and blah blah. And I I feel that's
it's
a lot
just
of
humility.
It's
just
humility. That's what we see. A lot of what we see on Facebook and stuff like that is people going, "I'm an ally. Look at me."
Yeah.
It has nothing to do. I feel like it has nothing to do with really being supportive. It has everything to do with being like.
And you know what? I'd be willing to bet that hey, there is one thing that those people probably have in common. They just hate authority, just inherently. They just hate it. That's what they have in common with everybody. So
well, and you know there's people out there who want something bad to happen. They want the cops to act bad. You know, like when you see the protests, they're just screaming at the police, just trying to evoke some sort of emotion.
Some.
You know what I mean?
Some. It's some.
I get you're angry. I get it. And one thing I don't like being told, don't tell me that I'm not allowed to have an opinion.
Right.
Because I don't understand what someone's
saying. I got
an objective point of view.
I got told by somebody that I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I don't live up there or I don't live in a metropolitan area.
You don't live there.
Dumbest
you're not black.
Thing.
You're not allowed to have an opinion.
And I'll say this now: they're not going to listen to this podcast because they don't listen to anything that has to do with anything intellectual because they just are the opposite of that. But man, I know so much more about the social things that go on with and what's happened with all this than you do. I'm going to contribute to it more, even just by talking. That person just
and that's see my point of view. My point of view was like I got called a racist because I was like when the riots first happened. Of course, like the first or second day after the protest, like that's all you saw was riots.
Right.
And of course, where do people mind go? Went back to the LA riots in the 90s.
Right.
Right. That's what we were scared. That's what people were scared of.
That's worse than that. It's worse already. It's went on for almost 4 times longer.
Well, it's not even about the duration. It's like the amount of violence. Like I've watched some interviews from the 90s, like that famous picture of that trucker that got pulled from his truck and beat down. And like later they went and did an interview with the guy that like threw a brick at his head and stomped on him. And it was like, why? And dude was like, he was white. He was white in that side of town.
Right.
He was getting it. He was mad. You know what I mean? And they were like, well, what do you have to say about it? He's like, I really got nothing to say about it. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's scary, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's scary. And then you see people in their trucks, like, driving through these crowds. Like, you know, how many of these truckers that, like, slowly drove through these crowds that's what's going through their head. If I fucking stop here, I'm going to be pulled out of my truck and fucking lynched.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. So, like, for day one, you're seeing these riots, and I'm like, man, I just don't think that that's the right way to go about it.
No.
And the next thing you know, you closet fucking racist.
Well, I don't. That's.
Whoa.
I've never once went. I don't know if you necessarily mean this. I'm gonna assume that you don't. But I've never given a fuck about the looters because they're not even there for Black Lives Matter or anything that has to do with the cause. Period. Anyways.
Well, here's my opinion on the looters. My opinion was, this is going to take away from the message. This is going to,
Yeah, that's
like,
obvious.
if
Yeah.
everyone's together and everyone's like cool with the protest and that, and then when looters come out, what's that do? It flips the narrative. It takes
Well,
now Fox News or whoever can go, oh, look
exactly.
what's going on over here. And now we're fighting.
It flips the narrative to people that like they're able to have their narrative flipped. I don't give a fuck about the looters, and no one else does that cares about what's going on right now. Nobody cares.
Well,
about
I
it.
mean, I think that's a blanket statement to say though, because like just because some people and like day one I wasn't able to. All I know is it goes protests have turned deadly, protests have turned violent. You know what I mean? And then how many people on day one, 20 minutes after being fed that shit, are going, well, there's probably people who are regularly protesting, and then there's the riots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we didn't know until several days
That,
later
but that's not.
to go, oh, okay, well, there's two
That's
different
not our
sects of
fault,
people.
though. That's not our fault.
Yeah,
I,
that's what I'm saying.
I've just constantly consumed hours and hours. I haven't lately. I haven't probably in the last week almost. But whenever this
Well, I
first
mean,
started,
normal people, like I have a job where I sit on my ass all day and I can scroll
right?
through news articles and Facebook and all this stuff, so I can stay relatively informed. Other people who don't spend as much time on social media because they have actual fucking lives, or they just catch a little bit on the radio, or God forbid if they happen to watch Fox News or CNN and that's the only place they get their news. Like that's all they're getting. You know, what I mean, it's not their fault.
Exactly. So it's not their fault. I've consumed hours of live on the ground people like that are involved in the protest. Nobody there gives a shit about the looters, and I've seen way more times often than not, and I'm so glad that it's been that way. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because I know it happens more than what I've seen, but a lot of the protesters are literally putting their bodies in between physically in between these places.
Yeah,
and that sometimes that even turns bad, but that just goes to show me that those people
and
at
the
least are.
divisiveness comes in when someone says, "Man, I wish this looting wasn't going on." So they take I keep using they. So you see people who take multiple. They want to use multiple arguments.
Right.
First, they'll say, "Well, violence is the language of the unheard," which is a Martin Luther King uh, um, quote that's been misquoted, taken out of context. It's like when you see people who take one line out of the Bible and use it to justify their actions.
Right.
Okay, so Martin Luther and I've read a lot of Dr. King's shit. All right, read. I encourage everyone to read "Letter from a Birmingham Jail." Great piece of literature, and it's along a lot of the same lines. Basically, what he's saying is like, we need peaceful protests. We need peaceful protests. We need peaceful protests. But for those of you who are seeing violent protests, understand where it's coming from.
Right.
Also, at the same time, saying it's going to take away from your message.
Right.
And then you'll have the same people say that when someone like me will come up and like, well, that's not what Dr. King meant. Like, we all killed him too.
Right. You're a racist. Immediately.
Y'all killed him too.
And
you know what I mean?
Hey, and what he says there is very, very right. And I almost think that, I say that a lot of the protesters don't want people looting. They should find them as not as much as enemies, but they should definitely find them as not contributing to the cause and actually being very detrimental to it. Big time. Like, the police are the cause. The only other real thing there that's causing a dichotomy is media, which they can't do much about other than
like
graffiti all over CNN. But what they could do is hold those people accountable. Like, I don't know. And once that starts, it's a wave.
One of the most, like, from the civil rights movement, when you look at those sit-ins they would do, where they would go into those all-white restaurants and stuff, and they would just sit there, and the police would come in and the mobs would come in, and they just fucking beat them senseless and drag them out. Like, you can't flip that narrative.
Right. Right.
You watch what's happening, and you're just like, holy shit. There's no way to flip. Now, if they're all in there fucking tearing shit up or whatever, now you've got two sides.
Right.
Now you've got them saying, well, they're destroying property, you know what I mean? And then you got the other side saying, well, this is the language of the unheard.
Right.
But when you're peacefully protesting, just those sit-ins or those marches, you know what I mean? Like, and then that's met with violence from the police. There's nothing to say against it, and that's my biggest thing about God, I wish they weren't rioting and stuff because it's taken away from that. There's no argument to be made.
Yeah, I think it's
It's like you
inevitable.
see those videos of the cops. I saw a video of there's just they're on like there's the highway and there's the grass on it. There's a bunch of protesters just standing there on the grass holding signs and stuff, and you see cops doing drive-bys with fucking pepper spray.
Yeah, I've seen that. I
Shit's
saw
crazy.
cops doing drive-bys with pepper spray on teenagers that were out after curfew, still light outside. But okay, after curfew, whatever. But
The one I saw, it was like
paintball
noon.
gun out the yeah, same. Mine was like, I mean, I don't know. It was after curfew because that was the premise of why they were getting shot at. But it was daytime, man. Whatever, stupid. So
And then you see getting shot with rubber bullets.
right, which
Right.
is
Of course, I never knew what a rubber bullet
that's
looked like
not
until
protocol.
recently.
That's not protocol for rubber bullets.
Yeah, apparently you're supposed to like bounce them off the ground.
Right, 37 to
Hit 'em.
57 feet in front of the target. You're supposed to hit them, like hit the ground in front of them, and it bounces up.
Dude, those rubber bullets are like the size of my coffee
Yeah,
cup.
I mean, most of them. Now, I may be wrong about this. If Casey's still here, he could probably testify to this. I think most of them are 40 millimeter. I think either that or they're 20 millimeter.
The
Like-
ones I
like
saw
we're
were roughly
talking-
the size of this coffee
we're
cup.
we're talking big.
Giant.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
regardless,
a grenade.
Yeah,
And then shooting tear gas canisters.
at people, hitting people with
So
them.
I've heard. So is tear gas? I've heard. I know you're not allowed to have like Geneva Convention, but I'm pretty sure doesn't the military uses tear gas also. So like I think
Yeah.
that's one thing that's false is like, oh, like even the military doesn't use this, but we're using our civilians. Well, I think that's actually false because I'm pretty sure the military tear gas is approved.
Michelle said most of the people. I haven't read this yet. I'm reading it as I go. Most of the people that use MLK quotes can't name any black activists other than him, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, if even that many. May even Maya Angelou because some of her quotes circle a lot. I see a lot of All Lives Matter people using Martin Luther King also. That's what she's saying. I'm just reading it. Okay, yeah, I mean, but still, most of the people that use any quotes really, I feel like are good as long as they know the context. Like I don't.
Well, I mean, you just named like 5 people from
Yeah,
60 years ago.
right.
That's a pretty good amount of people.
Yeah, if somebody named
Those
like
are pretty famous people.
I can't name quote. I'm not now, Michelle. We're not saying like, blah, but don't. I wouldn't be critical of that. If somebody can name that, if somebody can use a quote and use it with context, I don't see a problem with that at all. Even if that's the only quote. The only quote that I could say that's Martin Luther King's right now is what Alex just told me, and I don't know any. I mean, I know a quote from Rosa Parks, of course, but the other ones I can't really think of
Well,
things.
I mean, just the idea that you don't know of these 20 underground people who said something once that no one even knew who they are. Like
I think it's
takes
much
away from my having a point of view.
right.
Okay, like I don't get down with that kind of stuff. Like that's what
There's
one
a
of
much
the ways
more.
that people use for toxic argument is to debase someone's point of view based on, oh, you don't know about this.
Well, these
Oh,
people
you
even.
don't know shit. Okay, well
But
just inform me.
the true attack vector here, if you wanted to get critical about people using quotes from Martin Luther King Jr. or otherwise, would be use it in context. Know what you're talking about. Don't try to use it against me whenever you don't even know what you're talking about. Now I see the premise behind what you're saying, but just because I guess they couldn't name other stuff, and I know you probably know that, Michelle, that they
But she's talking about all lives matter people are Garbo too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah, that's just stupid.
Like I really do like the because like Black Lives Matter has been around for a while,
Right.
and I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I know like I've seen some toxic stuff from Black Lives Matter prior years.
Right.
Um,
Dude, people are just
Well,
shitty.
otherwise,
Just
like,
period.
I never really understood it like I do now. Like people really put it in
Agree.
perspective.
Agree.
In the whole like, well, if this house is on fire and this one's not, well, but all houses matter. They're
Right.
kind of like, okay, I can get down with that. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
But the problem is like not to take away from Black Lives Matter. I'm not saying there aren't racial disparities in America because obviously there are. Even COVID, you know what I mean? Like you can't argue when 8% of the population makes up, what does it say, 19%
Mm-hmm.
of COVID.
Yep.
Okay, like I'm not arguing there are racial disparities, but when it comes to police brutality, that's across the board.
It is.
When
It
it comes,
is.
and like I just don't feel like we need to be divided on this issue. You know what I mean? Like, why does police brutality have to be? Why is this a racial issue?
Right. It's
Because
now.
that's bad police are across the board.
Right. Yes.
Period.
Like I was saying
And
earlier,
then it
in
becomes this big
rural
numbers game.
areas, it's more white people that get brutalized
Yeah.
by police because that's just how it goes.
And it becomes this big numbers game of like, oh well, what percentage of
Dude,
this and
hey,
then
Alex,
and this.
how many times have you seen somebody having a conversation? Somebody just post that stupid fucking chart of how many people have died this year so far from police. Like, does that
Oh
matter?
yeah,
Yeah, guess what, buddy? You've got white with one, and you got black
yeah,
with one. That's all we
yeah.
need there. If we're gonna,
And it's like, oh well, more white people have died from police, and then the other side comes back and says, well, the percentage is different. It's a disparity. The problem is police brutality and police
right?
killings and police misconduct across the
You
board.
are using
Why?
white people's bodies in order to try to say that white people get killed. I don't even understand what the hell the point is.
It's like saying, here's a problem, okay, and in this problem, there's a problem inside the problem.
Right.
Let's just focus on the main problem
Right. Instead of trying to pick it apart and be stupid about
because
it
it's gonna.
and make it about
If
you.
you look at police brutality, period, it's gonna fix all of it.
Right. Hey, that's where accountability comes into play. And that right there is why I think the first step, this is something that requires, it's going to require planning and it'll require city planning too. Get the fucking police to talk to people. Get them out there. I don't know how you can do it. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. Let's figure it out. I think I'm going to go do that next week. And that's an amazing thing. I'm so glad that at least somebody's willing to hear me out. Maybe it'll shut me down. I don't even know. But I'm going to try. I don't know. Let's set an example. I want people that are eventually going to be my son's peers to not hate police also, because that's just going to be good for everybody. If everybody can trust police, there is no police trust. There is none. There's not any in me.
Here's the NAACP list of demands. A ban on the use of knee holds and chokeholds as an acceptable practice for police officers. My only question with that, and I'm all for it, but I do question if you take that away, is it going to take away from a police officer's ability to detain somebody? I mean, I'm not knowledgeable on other forms of holds or whatever. I'd say there are plenty. So, okay, I'm all for that. But I'm not an expert on chokeholds or, detaining. So that's the only thing about that. 2, the use of force continuum for any police department.
How many are there?
Must ensure that there are at least 6 levels of steps with clear rules on escalation.
How many are there in total, Alex?
What?
These things.
5. Only 5.
Okay, all right. Listen. Just so you know, I want to go through these. We're 2 hours and 25 minutes in. Probably need to wrap it. But let's go. Let's go through these though. I'm down.
All for that, 100%. So far, I haven't seen anything that's racial. 3, each state's Open Records Act must ensure officer misconduct information and disciplinary histories are not shielded from the public.
What the hell?
100% that. Why is that not on the thing?
Why? That's so crazy. It's sad that somebody has
Once
to ask.
again, still not a racial problem.
Now listen, hey, in some states that's going to be a thing. That's already going to be a thing in some states. Seriously. But I'm sure this is nationwide, and it needs to be. It needs to be across all states. Every single one.
Yeah. It's like if an 18-year-old can have sex with a 17-year-old girlfriend and put on a sex registry for the rest of his life, a cop who has misconduct needs to be put on a fucking registry too.
Agree. Completely agree. And you
got
know
these
what?
Fucking cops misconducting, going fucking one state over.
Exactly.
Can't
Hey,
even fucking see what
that's
happened.
that's something that I'm going to say to the mayor. that I think that people that are from this community, I don't even care if it's 8 miles down the road, if they live in downtown, they should have priority in becoming a part of the police force. I don't care. Maybe not downtown, but they should be from
I,
here.
I don't agree with that.
I do. I'm telling the mayor that 100%.
Where I live, hold on, let me get what you're making. I don't know if I understand you right. You're saying people who live downtown should have
No,
priority
no.
in becoming police officers.
People that live, I'm not. We can hash this out. People that, let me fully rephrase. Police departments, when trying to decipher who becomes police officers, should have to prioritize people that are from their place first. First, period. Don't care. Don't care if we've got somebody from New York that's got badass credentials that are applying for a police officer job. Maybe when it goes up, we can look at that. Police officer on the ground needs to be from here, man. I don't care. I'm not saying that I'm not going to debate it with you or discuss it with you. That's what I'm saying to my mayor.
I don't agree with you there. I understand the argument, but there's nothing that says that I have to live in a city to understand and be part of that.
Go
city.
move
You know what I mean?
somewhere. I would move somewhere. That's what I would do.
Okay, so like a lot of people live in Garrett County and commute to Lexington every day.
Guess what? Maybe we could do it by state then. Maybe we could do it by state. I don't know.
I could see that by state. Like, there's no reason you should live in Kentucky
Right.
and be an Ohio cop.
It's just dumb.
But I don't necessarily
would
get down with because I feel like that's an identity politics thing. Like, you don't know unless you live here. Like, that's not like, because the rules are the rules, laws are the laws, regardless of where I live.
Agree with you.
It doesn't like so a good cop. It shouldn't matter if I personally know you. If you're from my same block or part of the city, it shouldn't matter. A police officer with integrity should be able to enforce.
We don't have a lot of those. We don't have a lot of those.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like that's looking at the wrong thing. Like, I feel like that's trying to put a Band-Aid on it.
No, it's community first is just what it is. Like, listen, if you're willing to be a part of a community, maybe I'm wrong. Again, this is a discussion, and I may hash this out and think it's completely stupid. But I just don't see why somebody from another state should be able to come here, because I'm going to tell you what. I know for a fact there are clauses in law that state that if somebody lives in said state X,
Okay,
that commit a crime,
be as a full-fledged citizen of a state,
right?
Be a police officer there. I can get down with that. Because it's like to an extent. So like whenever I moved to Texas, okay, I was still technically a resident of Kentucky for the first year until I had lived in Texas for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess you should have to be a resident of a state in order to be a police officer there. But then again, sometimes there are
Well, you brought up a good example of this. What if you live in northern Kentucky and you're a Cincinnati campus police, because they have their own police force, like literally.
Yeah. Like what if you live in Newport?
I don't know. Hey, maybe put a pin on your house, and if it's in that diameter, do it. I just think that people that it's like this. You need to join the fucking police force first off because you want to help your community, not because you want to enforce law. I don't give a fuck. You want to enforce law? Go be a lawyer. Don't care about the other crap. You need to know that you're going to...
I don't think that that's something as easy as if X then Z or whatever. I think if we look at... I think there are other things to look at before we look at what geographical location you live in.
I agree.
Like that might be a topic
I agree.
on the list,
the very first thing...
of the police.
Agree. The very first thing needs to be if you're not going to go get out in the street and work with your community, get the fuck out of here. That's the first one. Simple.
So maybe like X amount of hours of community service a year.
Nope,
for police officers?
not even that. Nope. I think at all times the door should be open. Somebody wants to come and talk, they can. And you know what?
Oh,
hey,
fuck no, because I'm entitled to privacy and a life just because I'm a police officer. You know what I mean? Like, I've got kids, I've got a wife, I have a family. I am still entitled to that when I'm off duty.
Oh, I'm not saying when you're off duty. when you're on duty, when taxpayers are paying your paycheck, yes, you should be open and willing to speak with anyone in your community.
Open and willing, but I'm also not so naive to believe that they're always going to have the free time just because you walk up and want to talk to me.
Agree. I mean, it's a case by case thing.
That's why I think
it's not like a cop. It's not like a cop has to be like, there's a shooting on blah blah blah. Oh, hold on 1 second. I'm talking to this guy on the sidewalk. It's not like they have to be like that.
So I think a better thing to look at would be like, hey, every so often we're going to have these open forums. We can have these open forums. You could have a 24/7 one online.
Sure.
Okay. You could do.
I think that's even crazy.
Hey,
I think that's wild. But sure.
We're going to be cooking fucking. We just did a big old fucking drug seizure and got a lot of money. We're going to be cooking hamburgers and hot dogs out here.
Yep.
Down next to the state farm for all the civilians come out and talk to us, and we can fucking have an open forum and we can play fucking.
Cornhole.
Throw the fucking beanbag at the dunk the police chief type shit. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yes. Yep. That's
Stuff
what I'm talking about.
And then I think it'd be great for humility and give back. You're a police officer, X amount of hours of community service every year.
That would be a good way to put it. I'm just like pissy about this. I want to fucking... Dude, I swear to God, they should have an event every month. They should have to. I don't care what it is.
Well, see, and I think that's a big part of the problem is that we get mad and be like, you need to do this, you son of a bitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, well, let's think about this rationally. What can we do to...
Well, I mean, you can't police people's thoughts.
Because it becomes us versus them. It becomes us versus them.
Well, that's the whole reason you open the door, so it doesn't become that. Places like here, it's not going to be like that. And if it is, then somebody's just acting stupid because there's no disparity here. So it would be... if you had concerns for maybe your children or something like that, then you could just come in and talk about it. If anybody wants to come in with some hate or some violence, that's just not gonna. That shouldn't be tolerated by anybody. I don't care what it is. I'm not saying. It's not like I'm saying like the police should just carry dummy guns for the next 6 months and if a civilian...
You ever seen the new guys?
Yeah.
They're getting that fucking wooden gun? That's hilarious. That just made me think of that.
I don't know. Something needs to happen with the community and these police officers. It needs to happen now. It needs to happen in places like this place. It needs to happen everywhere. I don't know how they can do it in places that are bigger, that have bigger problems, but they need to do it. Don't know how.
So here's one. All right, next on the list. Recertification credentials may be denied for police officers if determined their use of deadly force was unwarranted by federal guidelines. I can get down with that.
If you couldn't, I would literally call you stupid if you couldn't. Why the fuck is that not a thing already? Nationwide.
Whoopsie daisy. Use deadly force when it was unwarranted. That's okay. Get back in there and try again.
People can travel state to state. If somebody does something in one certain state, there are laws in place in certain other states that bars them from having that applied to them when they apply for a police officer in their state's facts. It's garbage.
All right.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
So that's 4 of 5. Still, nothing racial. And this is from the NAACP.
Yikes.
All right, last. Implementation of citizen review boards in municipalities to hold police departments accountable and build public confidence.
By God.
That's last. All 5 things. I mean, those. If you can't get down with those, and that's from the NAACP, dude.
Right.
Now when you go look at the Black Lives Matter list of demands, completely separate.
Oh God.
I think the NAACP has got it right here.
The Black Lives Matter is and I'm not saying anything about the movement whatsoever. That's a fucking hashtag. This is a organization like full on, and I know that Black Lives Matter has a leader and blah 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 whatever, but they're not.
I think that's where a lot of confusion lies. So it's just like Antifa,
right?
Anytime someone says that they have a problem with Antifa, they're like, "Oh, so you're pro-fascist?" Like, no, like you can throw a fucking name on something and the organization still be garbage.
Right.
I'm not saying Black Lives Matter is garbage. I don't know enough about it. Okay, I don't. But I know Antifa's fucking garbo.
Yeah, they're trash.
Antifa's fucking garbo. If you change the name of the KKK to Antifa, is it still anti-fascist? Oh, so you're pro... I can't stand that shit. Lord have mercy.
All right. You ready to cut it?
I'm ready to cut it.
It's been
I'm
like
ready to cut it.
this is
Next
long,
week,
almost
we are
longer than
going
the
to
other
be
one.
going through, we're going to be discussing local government and how to get involved in elections and stuff like that. Because this stuff, me and Tyler were talking like the other night, we're like, I don't even, when's the next election? Who am I going to be able to vote
Now
for?
it is
What
the
do these
it is the
positions even do?
25th, right? Like that's we had to search,
Next,
you know, Google search. It's 25th, right, for Kentucky?
I don't know. The 25th of this month?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Seriously, like next Thursday. Pretty sure.
Lord have mercy.
Hey, but if so, that's okay because we'll be a podcast on the 24th, and we'll just make it all about that. I'm down. You can pick a county if you'd like, and I don't know. We can just kind of run through, not really run through the ballots, but definitely at least tell people where to.
Kentucky until June.
Alex, repeat what you just said.
This is from ballotpedia.org.
Mm-hmm. They're good.
Kentucky Democratic presidential primary on June 23rd, 2020.
Right.
And there's a whole list of people.
It's 23rd. Rip. Now, hey, listen. For 3 weeks now, I've been posting the sample ballots for Garrett, Lincoln, and Bull County. 3 weeks, at least.
Democratic. All right, so I'm gonna send you this. I'm gonna send you this list because it has a bunch of stuff we can go over.
Okay.
When's the 23rd? Are we gonna have a podcast before then?
It's next Tuesday. We could.
It'll have to be early because I go in at midnight on Tuesdays now.
Okay.
Well, let's get off here. We can discuss that later.
Okay, I'm down. All right. Thanks everybody for checking it out. I don't really have anything last minute to say. If you want to say something last minute, I guess. Well, I have one thing, but you can go ahead, Alex, if you got anything.
Fight the good fight.
Yeah, fight the good fight. That's the good stuff right there. Okay, so we are currently, right now, at this very second, live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. We just finally gotten all this crap set up, so here's the deal. If you want to follow us and listen, like in your car or something, Spotify is great for that. We're also on things like Castbox and Google Podcasts and a few other things like that if you just want to listen. But if you want to watch, now we're on YouTube. Try to get that going before last time, but now it's actually working. YouTube.
We're live on YouTube?
Yes, we're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook and Twitch right now. So those are the live platforms. You can see the videos there. All the videos that we make from this, they all go to YouTube. So you can catch all the podcasts there and get closed captions. And somebody mentioned that last one. And to be frank, I did think about it and think about YouTube having closed captions, but I knew I wanted to put them on there anyways. Yeah. So if you know somebody that wants closed captions or whatever, just direct them to YouTube.
I have one last thing. If there's something you really want to discuss with us or bring up, the best way for me, I know you probably on all platforms, the only page I watch is our Facebook page. If you message us, me and Tyler can both see the messages that come through our Facebook page,
Yes.
Fighting Ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to message us, open door policy.
Hey, now, they could message right now and you could see it? Like right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have Facebook pages, and I can that's what I use for my Alex Boy Wonder.
All right. So that's that, and that goes for during, honestly, too. I've actually got a chat box that's up here that actually has all three of them on it, which is pretty nice. I don't know how I can get you that. Maybe we'll work on that next time so you can see it, too, so you can catch them.
I ain't got time for that when I'm doing the podcast.
Right. Dude, there's so much shit going on. Oh, my God. I got screens everywhere. All right. But thanks, everybody, for listening. And I appreciate you. Alex, if you want to close it out for us, and we'll dip a Runesky. Thanks, everybody, for watching again. Appreciate it. Really appreciate all.
Fight the good fight. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
I see stream ending, follow us, and all that, but I don't hear any music. Yeah.